This is Sid and Friends in the Morning.
Entertaining and informative.
Oh, you're my best friend.
77 WABC.
Before we start this show, let me make it very, very clear. If you love me, Sid Rosenberg, and you love Sid and Friends in the Morning, if you're with her, you are not with me.
Look, the polls we had showed that it was a neck-and-neck race. Would have been down to the wire. But what happened was a number of my Democratic colleagues in the House and Senate thought that I was going to hurt them in the races. And I was concerned if I stayed in the race, that would be the topic. You'd be interviewing me about why did Nancy Pelosi say, why did someone, and I thought it'd be a real distraction.
For the first time, President Joe Biden explains why he dropped out, saying he didn't want to be a distraction. Meanwhile, Republican vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance touched on a wide range of topics, including the border and families on ABC's This Week. Eyewitness News reporter Lucy Yang has the details from the newsroom. Lucy.
It is 85 days until the election, and the latest New York Times Siena poll shows Kamala Harris leading Donald Trump by 4 points in 3 key battleground states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. This as both sides try to get out their message.
They basically threw open the gates of our country, and now we have a ton of fentanyl, a ton of people.
But how are you going to get 10 to 15 to 20 million people out of the country?
The first thing you have to do is to stop the bleeding, stop the open border, get Kamala Harris out of there. And
J.D. Vance, the Republican vice presidential candidate, appeared on ABC this week to tackle hot-button issues like the migrant crisis. He says Donald Trump, if elected, would start deporting violent criminals.
There's 20 million people here illegally. You start with what's achievable.
The race for the White House, of course, as both candidates focus on the West this weekend. Vice President Kamala Harris holding a campaign rally in Las Vegas. And that's where we find ABC's Zorin Shaw.
First, Trump had been ramping up pressure for Harris to face reporters. She did. Trump is now slamming Harris, saying that she copied one of his policies. Vice President Kamala Harris proposing to eliminate taxes on tips during her Las Vegas rally, hours after the powerful culinary union endorsed her.
When I am president, we will continue our fight for working families of America.
Trump slamming Harris, saying she copied my no taxes on tips policy. Vice President Harris on Saturday also dodging tough questions about the Biden administration's involvement in the Israel-Gaza war amid recent Israeli airstrikes.
We need a hostage deal and we need a ceasefire.
The 12,000-person political rally, a culmination of a 5-day rollout tour with Harris's vice presidential running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Many attendees energized with a shakeup on the Democratic Party ticket.
Would you be here if the ticket hadn't changed?
No, I probably would not be here.
Meanwhile, Trump attending fundraisers in Wyoming and Colorado, his last swing state event 8 days ago in Atlanta, Georgia. His vice president nominee, J.D. Vance, continuing to slam Harris's VP pick, Tim Walz, who left the military after earning the highest enlisted rank for his unit, but right before his unit could have been sent to war. Walz appearing to use the attacks launched on him on Trump.
Donald Trump knows nothing about service. It's pretty hard to provide service to others when you're too busy looking out for only yourself.
The DNC is just 1 week away, Gio.
And Zoreen, while we have you here, the Trump campaign says that some of its internal communications were hacked. What do we know here?
The Trump campaign claims that foreign sources hacked them. They're referring to a report that came out from Microsoft on Friday that says back in June, a group run by Iranian intelligence officials sent a spear phishing email to a high-ranking official on a presidential campaign. We asked Microsoft about those details, but the company would not go beyond its report or say which campaign. And the Trump campaign has not provided more details either. The Microsoft report says the company had been tracking attempts from possible bad actors and foreign entities to interfere in the U.S. election. National security officials had also been warning of threats.
Does Curry have another banger with a dagger to finish it? Durant back to Curry, dancing on Batum, over the double team. In the fourth.
He's a bad boy. Night, night.
Steph, even 17 threes in back-to-back games is a rarity for you. What were the last two games like? How did it feel? And then can you maybe talk about what the last 2 minutes and 30 seconds were for you when you were hitting three after three and then the last one, that put the game away?
We always say you do what the game calls for and then what you kind of feel in the flow. Like the first 4 games, I had decent looks. They weren't falling, but they were in the rhythm of the offense for the most part. Coach reminded me at a certain point early, like, the game will come to you if you allow it.
Just phenomenal from Steph Curry, those 4 threes in the final 3 minutes, leading Team USA over France. You could not have written a better story for Curry's first gold medal, leading the Americans to a 5th straight Olympic gold.
I'm Justin Ellick, and the scene is set. 7 p.m. Sid Rosenberg and his Blue Bears are back for their first playoff game of the 2024 postseason, taking on Pinto Novelty with J.R. Riley and Tommy Coates. This will be the Blue Bears' first action since capturing the overall #1 seed after a 5-2 regular season. It'll be Rosenberg's first playoff game of his coaching career, as well as his son Gabriel's first playoff action. It all comes your way from Bell Harbor, 7 p.m., playoff time for the St. Francis Summer Classic. I'm Justin Ellick with a St. Francis Summer Classic playoff preview.
About the city of blinding lights is talking about the city of Paris, France, where we just witnessed what was a really good Olympics. For a guy that talked a lot the last couple of weeks about not watching it and really disgusted by the opening ceremonies and the mockery of Jesus Christ and the Last Supper, the actual action that took place, the sports, was pretty amazing. And the USA basketball team, the way they came back to beat Serbia, trailing by 17 late. And then Steph Curry. My God, was that fun to watch. 4 3-pointers late. One of the greatest shooters in the history of the game. Quite frankly, one of the greatest players in the history of the game to come back and beat France and win the gold. It was great stuff. But all these kids were great. Noah Lyles was great till he got COVID. He still won the bronze. And, the list, Simone Biles and Katie Ledecky and Richardson. And it just goes on and on. It was a fun Olympics. That song, City of Blinding Lights, I'm a little embarrassed to admit this, but if you know me, you know I don't care. One of my favorite movies of all time. I'll give you the folks in the movie, Lou. Let's see if you can guess it.
I know it already.
Meryl Streep.
Easy.
Anne Hathaway.
Easy.
Stanley Tucci.
Yep.
I forgot the name of the guy that played Simon something or other. Played a cop on TV. Really good-looking guy.
Yes.
He ends up banging Hathaway in France.
Right.
Movie was
He was the
Devil Wears Prada.
ESP guy or something?
Yes. Yes, that's exactly what he was. Very good. Okay. Very good. Right. Devil Wears Prada. And they use that song because at one point she goes to France with Meryl Streep, who's like this amazing designer. Joe Aboud loves that movie. And they use that song in the movie, but it is it's for Paris. And the Olympics were great, and basketball is a theme today with the United States winning the gold medal. And then me and my son out there tonight, 7 o'clock, Bell Harbor, Queens, St. Francis Summer Classic. It's playoff action, game 1. I think we got to win 3 games. Talking to my assistant coach, Ryan Malone, at the gym a couple of days ago. I think it's 3 games. You win 3, and you win the championship. So it all gets underway later on tonight, and it's going to be a beautiful night, weather-wise, and it's very exciting. Very exciting.
You have to be the Meryl Streep coach tonight, actually. That's
exactly what I have to be, the Meryl Streep coach.
You just talk to the players, and you go, that's all.
I remember she did that quite a bit. Quite a bit. Well, you like that movie, too, huh?
Well, it's
good. It was a great movie.
It was a little bit too close to real life for me, I think.
Oh, with Imus. She was a lot like Imus. A lot.
Yeah.
But, great movie. Yeah. Devil Wears Prada. Who would have thunk that would have been mentioned early on a Monday morning, but it is. So basketball will be a reoccurring theme today. And, of course, it's another weekend of Kamala and Trump. So I get a message early this morning. If you go to my Instagram page right now, I always compel you folks to follow me on Instagram. Why? Because I'm a great follow. Because I tell you how I feel. I curse. I look good. It's fun. People have told me time and time again they love the radio show. They actually like my Instagram page even better. And then I've got folks following me all over the world who think that the clips they see are from a podcast. They're not. The clips they see on Instagram are from this show. In the social media department, all of them, Doug and Stephanie and Gina and Will, and all of them do a terrific job. But there are folks that watch these clips in Australia, in Japan. You wouldn't believe it. Certainly in Israel. So I get a message this morning from Judah Honickman. And he says to me, have you seen this page on Instagram, which was the motivation behind my Instagram video that I put up about an hour ago, very early this morning, both on Instagram at rosenberg.sydney and Facebook, Sid Rosenberg. So the page is Jewish Women for Cam, Jewish Women for Kamala. And then, as if that's not bad enough, you may remember my friend Cindy Groves. She was on Friday, early. She was great. We did a whole segment on crappy Jews. Lou, you loved that segment. You loved it.
I think it should be a regular.
So do I.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
I know.
We may do it every week. But anyway, she sends me this. She goes, I'm not sure if you saw this. Not only is there a page, Jewish Women for Cam, but there's actually a family member of a hostage being held right now in Gaza that is on that page supporting Kamala Harris. The family member's name is Alana Zaychik. And what's ironic about that is the name Alana, A-L-A-N-A, is my sister's name, and that is my older sister, who I constantly bash on this show for being so stupid when it comes to politics, because she is. Very bright lady. I love her to pieces. And her husband, Harry, teacher, very bright. When it comes to politics, stupid.
So what kind
Same name, Alana.
Okay. So how is she categorized then? What kind of
Oh, she's, well...
Okay,
I can't call my own sister a crappy Jew.
I don't think so.
And my brother-in-law, God bless him, Harry, his parents are Holocaust survivors.
Oh, forget it. No.
So they're not crappy Jews, but they're stupid Jews.
Okay, that's a good category.
My mother's listening right now. Naomi, I'm sorry. I know she's your daughter. Ray Sherry, I know she's your sister. Lizzie, I know she's your sister, and I love her. There's nothing I wouldn't do for her, but she's stupid. Really stupid. But this Alana, not my sister, is a family member of a hostage, and she is endorsing Kamala Harris. Folks, Kamala Harris, let me explain it to you, okay? You haven't figured it out yet. Last week, she absolutely discussed the possibility of a complete arms embargo to Israel. She took it back, but so what? Her whole campaign is about telling you something now that she didn't say before. In other words, she was for open borders before, now she's not, right? She was for defunding the police before, now she's not. Her whole campaign now is, let me talk about all the things that Donald Trump talks about so you'll like me. And it's working. It's working, but she's a filthy liar. She's all for not delivering arms to Israel. Her best friends are the squad members. She picked a VP who's best friends with Ilhan Omar, who couldn't give a rat's ass if every Jew in the world was exterminated today. Today. She keeps talking about a ceasefire, which is not going to happen. Nobody in Israel wants that. Nobody outside of the hostage parents. I mean, she is brutal. She's got a stepdaughter who's raised over $8 million for Hamas. Hamas! She's got a husband, Doug Emhoff. We know this already. He's a crappy Jew. And yet there are Jews like this Alana Zaychik, related to a hostage, and others here in New York and across the country that are supporting her and this anti-Semitic party. And I know I talk about this all the time. It's like a broken record, but I just can't believe it. I can't believe it. I'm trying to figure out the one thing that Kamala Harris stands for, Kamala, whatever the stupid name is, stands for, that's good. One, she was the border czar. It doesn't matter what the Democrats do, how many articles they erase on the internet. It doesn't matter. They can yell and scream. We never called her that. It doesn't matter. They did do all of that. She was the border czar, and the border got worse every day. So on the border, on immigration, on illegals, she's a mess. On Israel and the Jews, she's a mess. She wanted to defund the police. She wanted to re-image the police. She was out there the summer of 2020 encouraging people to bail out these scumbags who are punching white people across the face, defacing statues all over the country. That's what she was doing. All these things, folks. What does she stand for that's good? Tell me. Abortion? Let me tell you something. Donald Trump has the most solid approach of any politician I know. He believes, like I do, in the exceptions. Incest, rape, health of the mother. 16 weeks is absolutely logical. When Donald Trump says all the legal scholars believe that Roe versus Wade should be left up to the states, he's not lying. One of the most respected, revered, and beloved Supreme Court justices ever, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, is on record saying Roe versus Wade is bad law. The people that are radical about abortion are the Democrats. They will allow a mother full term, 9 months, and then kill the baby. That's murder. I'm pro-choice. I am pro-choice up to a certain amount of weeks. After 9 months, that's murder. That's the Democrats, not us. So don't tell me that you love Kamala for her stance on abortion. I don't know what this woman stands for. You wouldn't know because 22 days ago, in very un-American, unconstitutional fashion, the Democrats decided she's the new choice. Sorry, Joe. And in 22 days, she hasn't had one sit-down interview. My guy Trump, he did 72 minutes from Mar-a-Lago last weekend. He continues to talk everywhere. J.D. Vance, his vice president choice. He did 2 interviews this weekend in enemy territory with that asshole Jonathan Karl on ABC and that idiot Dana Ass on CNN. Where were Walz and Harris? Oh, they're out there. Their campaign is all about love and promise. Shut up, love and promise. You were an integral part of a campaign that has destroyed this country and this world in the last 3+ years. Where was all that love and promise when you were sitting there in the same house as Joe Biden? It's lies. It's all lies. You know, Dana Bash is sitting there asking stupid questions from J.D. Vance. Stupid. And I was really happy that J.D. Vance snapped back at her. In fact, here is cut number 3, courtesy of CNN and Dana S., where J.D. Vance says, "Hey, Dana, stop asking me stupid questions about stuff I said 3 years ago. Let's talk about what's happening today." J.D. Vance, cut number 3.
Okay, you've now asked me 3 questions about comments that I made 3 years ago.
Uh-huh.
I wonder what Kamala Harris thinks about the fact that she supported policies that opened the American southern border. I wonder what Kamala Harris thinks about the fact that she lied to the American people about Joe Biden's middle facility for the office. You are interviewing me, Dana, because I respect the American people enough to sit down for an interview.
I appreciate that.
Kamala Harris has been the nominee for 3 weeks. She hasn't sat down for a real interview.
Believe me, we are asking. You're not going to get a disagreement there.
But the point is, Dana, you've got me for 15 minutes or however long you have me. We should be talking about public policies that matter. How are we going to lower inflation? How are we going to reduce the cost of food and housing? How are we going to close down that southern border? We've talked so little about that. We've talked a lot more about a sarcastic remark I made 3 years ago. I think we should talk about the issues that most Americans care about.
And that's a good job right there by J.D. Vance. He goes on to say, and this is the truth, Kamala Harris, it's like a movie. Look at me. I'm a female. Yes, I've got a vagina. I'm black. I love all of you. Yeah, but Kamala, you, the last 3 years, were the vice president. Life has turned to crap in the United States. World War III, a pubic hair away. What about all those? How are you going to fix that? How are you going to fix it? I know you can steal what Donald Trump wants to do, like eliminating taxes on tips. She stole that from Trump. What are you going to do to fix it? She doesn't talk about that. It's one big, beautiful Lifetime movie, which is exactly what J.D. Vance said to Dana S. on CNN this weekend. Lewis, this is cut number 4.
I believe that Kamala Harris is whatever she says she is, but I believe importantly that President Trump is right that she's a chameleon. She pretends to be one thing in front of one audience. She pretends to be something different in front of another audience. Look, Dana, she's not running a political campaign. She's running a movie. She only speaks to voters behind a teleprompter. Everything is scripted. She doesn't have her policy positions out there. She hasn't answered why she wanted to ban fracking, but now she doesn't. She wanted to fund police, but now she doesn't. She wanted to open the border, but now she doesn't. She should have to answer for why she presents a different set of policies to one audience and a different set of policies to another audience. And I think that's what President Trump is getting at. This is a fundamentally fake person. She's different depending on who she's in front of.
Nice job there by J.D. Vance. I've been somewhat critical of J.D., and I'm still not sure that was the right choice. Certainly people like Elise Stefanik and Marco Rubio were my preference. But J.D. Vance did an excellent job on both ABC and CNN representing Donald Trump, the Republican Party, and America this weekend. All right, big show Monday morning. This is the first time in 3 weeks you get a full week of me. Only did 4 shows 2 weeks ago. Only did 2 shows last week. Stuck down in Florida. All 5 coming up this week. Shane Siederman, Curtis Sliwa. We're going to talk to Mike Lawler. Maybe Robert Tucker. I'm efforting him at 8:15. He is going to be the new fire commissioner. If not, John Catsimatidis will be here. The great Joe Benigno is going to be here. And the big one coming up at 8:45 this morning, Eric Trump. Oh, big Monday show, folks. Sid Friends in the morning. And what a ratings book we got back on Friday. More on that right after these words.
What happened to the beauty I had inside of me? And I miss you when you're not around. I'm getting ready to leave the ground.
Sid and Friends in the morning. 77 WABC.
Look at what Harris did when she picked Walz. She said she believes in defunding the police. She believes in allowing children to mutilate their bodies without the consent of the parents. She believes that you can forcibly take away weapons, guns from people. She confirmed that she believes in the Green New Deal and completely open border. What I don't get is, don't the Democrats care about the people dying of fentanyl? Do you think it just happens to Republicans? Don't they care about little girls being raped by illegal immigrants that should never be here? Don't they worry about a terrorist attack against Democrats? Because it just doesn't make any sense. There's no logic. This is the most radical ticket we've ever had probably in this country's history. And so we all have to do what Trump said. We need to swamp them in November. We need to get out and vote and get all of our friends to vote.
Dire Straits. I'm not sure if Mark Knopfler is a crappy Jew or not, but I can tell you this is a Hall of Fame rock and roll band, and as you know, the second segment every morning, I would say 9 days out of 10, there's a significance behind the song that Lewis comes back with. So there's something going on with Mark Knopfler and Dire Straits today. What would that be, Lewis?
75 years old today.
Oh, my God.
Mark Knopfler. And he did not show up at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Why didn't he show up?
I don't think he believes in it.
But they're in. I mean, the group is in, but he doesn't believe in it. Yeah.
They weren't there. There was 2 or 3 guys that showed up. But he didn't. And his brother actually was in the band for the first 2 albums, and then they had a falling out.
Oh my God!
I think.
Like the Robinsons and the
yeah, but they didn't fight. They just had differences.
Okay,
stuff from what
not
I
like the Gallagher brothers. Oasis.
No. They didn't get thrown off planes and stuff like that.
Right.
I love this band.
Oh, I love them too.
Great.
So he did not go to the Hall of Fame.
No, he didn't even.
Wow.
He didn't acknowledge it. I think it's just not his thing.
All
I
right.
kind of understand him too, but it would have been good. They would have gotten all this acknowledgement and would have gotten popular again.
Well, when I'm not in the New York Radio Hall of Fame this year. They gave that to Craig Carton. Congratulations to Craig Carton, who actually did the whole series of Yankee games on WFAN. He did all 3 games, a doubleheader on Saturday, Sunday with Susan Waldman. What'd you think?
I thought he was good.
He was good.
He was good. He was energetic.
Upbeat,
and
entertaining.
Right, and made fun of a couple of things that probably didn't make sense at the time. Like, I don't know why they're going to pitch to him, but okay. Stuff like that.
He was good.
He was entertaining.
I agree with you. He was very, very good. So they put him in the Hall this year. With the promise I'll be in the New York Hall of Fame next year, basically. So I got to wait for all this stuff, I got to wait for Marconi's and Hall of Fame stuff. But in my support of Mark Knopfler, when I get into the New York Hall of Fame, I'm not going to show up. So.
That's right. You just don't acknowledge. Hey, I'm not here for the awards.
You will go for me. Lou and Justin, you'll go for me.
Well, I'll be there, sure. Yeah, you don't have to go. As long as they put me up somewhere, which is what the problem was with his brother.
Really?
They wouldn't even, he had trouble getting accommodations, getting a plane.
In Cleveland?
To get to Cleveland, because he's still based in England, I'm sure.
What a mess.
So that was one of the issues, I think. So a bass player and a drummer showed up, I think.
That was it.
And I don't even think they played Dire Straits songs at them.
Oh, my God.
I forget, because he wasn't going to be there. Who cares?
Talking about the Hall of Fame, I do want to mention this. Every week in this business, we get ratings. Every week. They can check stuff every day. They get streaming numbers, all kinds of stuff, I know when I was a kid in radio, you had to wait till the end of the month. That was the book. They called it the book, Now they have metrics every segment, every second. That's why I know that me and O'Reilly get the biggest ratings of the week and the whole thing, But they have weekly ratings now. And I'm not going to get into the actual numbers because every time I do, Nielsen complains that I don't say it correctly, even though I know it's 12 plus AQH, blah, blah, blah. But I will tell you this. The weekly ratings that this show has gotten the last 2 weeks are out of this world. I mean out of this world. I'll give you a number. WOR, mornings, 2.8. Sid and Friends in the mornings, 6.6. There's nobody even at this station that comes close to us. Nobody. We are murdering the field. Now, listen, am I going to brag about our performance? Sure I am. Absolutely. You don't get these numbers. Imus didn't get these numbers. You know, the guys before him didn't get these numbers. Quite frankly, me and Bernie didn't get these numbers. You don't do that without putting on a great show. But I do have to thank the listeners because you guys continue to support this program, not just here, but when you look at the, for example, the people listening on the app, it is all over the country. It is all over the world. I mean, sometimes I got to pinch myself. It's surreal to me how popular this show has become. It really is. So I do want to thank all the listeners for another great ratings period. You know, and in this game, because my competition is not Boomer Esiason, okay? It's not. It's not WFAN. They talk sports. Doesn't matter who they put on. They're going to get great ratings. That's not a knock at Boomer. Boomer's terrific. He's great. But FAN will get ratings no matter who's on there. I got monster ratings on FAN 20 years ago. Come to WABC and get big ratings. That's a whole other story, and we do that. So thank you to your listeners for another great week here on the show. But I did want to mention Israel because we had big ratings last year when we went to Israel. Very big ratings. And we're going back. I actually spoke to Scott at One Israel Fund yesterday. October 5th, we leave. That puts us in Israel Monday, October 7th, the one-year commemoration of that awful day. We stay like last year, do 4 shows, can't do a show on Shabbos. We'll actually be there for the holiest day of the Jewish calendar, Yom Kippur. Right now, the group that is going includes me, Justin Ellick, and the very, very popular actor with over 2 million followers, Michael Rappaport. It's going to be a crazy, amazing, spiritual, beautiful, and somber week in Israel. And I expect that the numbers will come back huge. So that's from the 5th to the 13th. Then we come back, and then we're less than a month away from the election. And hopefully a win for Donald Trump. Once again, we'll talk to Donald Trump's son, my friend Eric Trump, coming up at 8:45.
This is Sid on Sports. Oh, my goodness! Sponsored by Peerless Boilers on 77 WABC.
Justin Ellick here with your bottom of the hour sports update, sponsored by Pete Morgan and Peerless Boilers. Go to peerlessboilers.com, paviliontankless.com. Find a dealer near you. They're the world's best built boilers. Started on the diamond in the Bronx. Giancarlo Stanton hit a 3-run homer. Aaron Judge was intentionally walked in the 5th inning. Juan Soto went deep twice. Judge hit his MLB best 42nd homer, and the Yankees hung on for an 8-7 victory over the visiting Texas Rangers. Judge reached base 4 times, making it the 41st time he reached base at least 3 times this season. He singled twice, homered for the first time since August 3rd when Toronto walked in. Yes, sir.
Is that 299 home runs?
I believe so.
It is so.
He is 1 off 300.
Right. So the quickest player to ever hit 300 home runs in their major league career was who? I'll give you a hint.
Yeah.
He was a great Pittsburgh Pirate.
Barry Bonds?
No.
Willie
He
Montañez?
was. No.
Oh.
But he became really famous afterwards. He was a great Pirate, a Hall of Famer. But really famous afterwards for working with the New York Mets.
Huh.
It's not Stargell.
No.
Did we say Stargell?
No. Give up?
Yeah.
Parker.
Ralph Kiner.
I would never. I literally would never have guessed.
The quickest to 300 home runs in the history of the major leagues. Mr. Kiner's Corner. Oh. Ralph Kiner.
How many did he end with? Do you know?
Oh, he had to hit over 5. Was it almost 500? He was a beast.
Mm-hmm.
He was a beast.
We're getting a flipping nod, so that means yes.
Yeah. But Judge is right there. He may be the quickest Yankee. I don't know. No. How many did Kiner hit flipping?
Not 500. He actually swatted 369.
Oh.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you. Much further after his 300.
Who was told by Pirate management when he was negotiating, well, we finished in last place with you. We can finish in last place without you.
And it's funny you say that because That's exactly what they were saying about players like Andre Dawson with the Cubs, Alex Rodriguez with Texas. They wanted all that big money, and they would always quote the Pirates and Ralph Kiner.
Right.
Yeah. We can come in last without you.
It's not a bad argument.
Right.
And Seattle, the Mets had a weekend to forget. They get swept by the Seattle Mariners, complete with yesterday's 12-1 shellacking in the finale. That was the only run they scored all weekend, that one run yesterday. Next up for them, they'll get a day off before playing Oakland tomorrow to start a 9-game homestand. Good team to go up against if you're trying to get back on track. On the gridiron, preseason play got into full swing. Action around the league all weekend. Following the Giants' 14-3 win on Thursday of last week, the Jets followed that up with a 20-17 win over the Washington Commanders.
How about Caleb Williams, though?
Yeah.
The number 1 overall pick out of USC with the Bears. He looked great. All these young quarterbacks. In fact, that Jet game, the number 2 pick out of LSU, Jaden Daniels, first drive, engineered a touchdown drive. Threw a beautiful 40-yard pass to Brown.
Yep.
So he played great. And the Vikings, the guy that just won the national championship at Michigan, J.J. McCarthy, played well.
Yes,
like the Giants play the Vikings in week 1.
Yeah, he's going up against, I should say, in that quarterback camp competition in that training camp against former Jet quarterback Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
So that should be interesting.
Well, all these young kids look good.
Yeah.
They look good.
They do. At least 1 week in. We'll see what happens in the week to come. And to Paris in the summer.
Or do the Jets play this? Oh, Carolina.
Yes.
And the Giants play Houston. Yeah.
You got it. Nailed it. To Paris in the Summer Olympics, that wrapped up yesterday. The United States men's and women's basketball teams both held off France over the weekend to win gold. Hardware that was needed for the Americans to tie China for the most gold medals with 40. We tie for the most gold medals, and we win the overall medal count. That's sports. Sponsored by Pete Morgan of Peerless Boilers. Go to peerlessboilers.com, paviliontankless.com to find a deal near you. They're the world's best built boilers. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
This is Sid and Friends in the morning. 77 WABC.
Any Jewish person that votes for Democrats hates their religion, they hate everything about Israel, and they should be ashamed of themselves.
I see you, I feel you, that is how I know you. Go on, far across the distance and spaces between us, you have come to show you.
Hope you're enjoying this. This is a beautiful song. I'll be the first to say it. I happen to love it from the movie Titanic. Heart Goes On, Celine Dion. But she is now banned from this program, so I hope you enjoyed that. This bitch is out.
Enjoy while you can.
See ya. Get out. I'm not sure if it was Wyoming or Montana where Trump was this weekend, but he used this song to go on stage, and she got all crazy. Well, don't you use my song, Donald Trump? So she done. That's it. She's,
I think she fell right after she hung. So.
Well, she had, wasn't her, like, face frozen for, like, a year or something?
No, her whole body.
Oh, whole body. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's terrible. I don't want to.
It is. No.
Then you had Rob Shooter.
That was pretty
Whatever cares. Rob Shooter used to come on this show all the time, you know, the gay gossip columnist. And John hated him. I liked him. But he used to come on the show all the time. And he's out there on Instagram going, oh, if you didn't love Celine Dion before, now you really love her. He's also out there on and on about I'm with Kamala. So He's also banned.
No,
he was off the show anyway for about 2 years, but
good luck coming back on.
Yeah, now forget about it. It got so bad. I actually tested Rosanna Scotto yesterday. I swear to God. And I go, how do you put Shooter on your show? The guy's out there on Instagram. I'm with her, this grotesque Harris, and also he's complimenting Celine Dion on bashing Donald Trump.
Well, it is a great song, Sid. You have to remember that.
Yeah.
I mean, this is great. And all craziness. I don't wish any big harm to come to Donald Trump. But, I still love you. You're still amazing. You're still amazing.
Very
and
good.
I'd love to come back on.
Very good. All right. So she's on the ban list now with Roger Waters and Eric Clapton and a whole bunch of others on her. So I go to the gym every day. My buddy Sean Cerrone's gym, Burn Fitness. A couple of guys in the gym I become friendly with. They're good guys, really good guys. Two guys in particular, Jonathan and Shane Siederman. So we always have these political conversations, money conversations, because Shane, works with Bay Ridge Financial. I believe that's the place. And he is a whiz. He's really smart when it comes to the economy. So like last week, for example, we spoke to both Paul Stone, who's also terrific, I must tell you, and Thor, my buddy Brandon Thor, from gold. He encourages you guys to invest in gold from Thor Metals Group. And I was talking to Shane on Friday, a couple of days after the market lost 1,000 points, and I said, recession, what are we looking at? So I decided to bring Shane on. He's a very, very smart economic guy. So here's my buddy Shane Siederman. Shane, good morning, buddy. How are you?
Hey, Sid. Thanks so much for inviting me. I do want to take a minute out just to tell you what you remind me of.
Okay. I'm nervous.
My personal opinion, you are close to Rush Limbaugh's status.
Really?
Well, I think you're hitting on key level areas. You're hitting the politics, which is very important, the sports, and you're very intrigued on understanding why the middle class is getting gutted. And I think that's important.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And that was Rush. That's a huge compliment. So thank you, Shane, because I did love Rush, God rest his soul. And the reason why I'm intrigued about the middle class is even though I make a good living, not great, but a good living and more than most people, believe me, I'm paycheck to paycheck. I am in that middle class group and I shouldn't be. I should be doing better. But this government in this country and this state, New York, they just tax the hell out of you, and the economy is going to hell in the handbasket. Yet all I keep hearing from this administration is how well things are going. Help me out, Shane, please, I beg you.
Well, if you take a look, the number one enemy for the people have always been, and the number one, positive thing for the super rich is inflation. When inflation crushes the middle class and the poor, you're basically confiscating all the assets. That was part of World War I. That was World War II. If you go back to the Roman Empire, to Julius Caesar, what were they doing? They were doing a form of printed money. You had the silver denaro, where they took the silver and mixed it with copper, and eventually the soldiers would no longer fight for the Roman empires. So if we look what's gone on here, has the dollar been almost bankrupt 3 or 4 times in the U.S.? You're damn right it has. Go back to the 1930s, and the last time gold was repriced higher from $15, $20 up to $35 after they had confiscated all your gold. So imagine having $100,000 in the bank, and I'm not saying you would have that, but if you did, and now your $100,000 12 months later is only worth $70,000, and that just happened just now in America. And if we look back, what's the best way to battle the inflation? Let's look what the super rich guys are doing. Warren Buffett, if he thought the economy was doing so good, why would he sell 510 million shares of Apple? Why would he sell 1.5 million shares of Bank of America? Why is Warren Buffett the most intelligent, most successful investor of all time? Why is he sitting $300 billion in cash and buying treasury bills if he thinks the economy is so strong?
Those are all great questions. Clearly, he doesn't think it's so strong, and that does bring us to what happened last week. Now, we know, of course, that people often make this mistake, and Shane, you know better than anybody that what happens in the market is not an indicator, really, of the guy on Main Street. There are wealthy people playing games and having a good time in the market. That has nothing to do with the guy that's working 10 hours a day, making $30,000 a year, who better represents Americans than the rich guys on Wall Street. But the market did lose 1,000 points a couple days ago. We started bringing up that dreaded R word again, recession. I had a guy on a couple of days ago, Paul Stone, very, very smart financial guy, brilliant actually. And he said, Sid, to be honest, if you look at the indicators of a recession, we've been in one for the better part of 16 years. What are your thoughts?
I think he's right on the money, and I'll just give you a perfect example. If you go back to 2008, the last time they started this QE crap and kept printing the money, if you go back then, the debt to GDP was 25% or less. Right now, we're at 123%. You just go to the U.S. debt clock and look, and anybody has access to it, to Google. But let's just go back to 1972, and let's rehash our conversation in the gym. If you went back to 1972 and you said, hey, Shane, it's 1972. I have 50. I have 100,000. How can I protect myself against a runaway government where debt's exploding? Like right now, I think every 90 days we're spending $1 trillion to cover our debt with the Fed, right? Well, if you go back to 72, silver was $1.69 an ounce. Gold was about $58 an ounce. Gallon of milk was $1.20. Gasoline was 55 cents. Now, where do we pull that out of thin air? I didn't pull it out of my butt. That information comes from Pages of Time, but you could go onto the internet and probably search and find these exact, like minimum wage back then was $1.60. The Dow was between 880 and 1,000. Now let's speed up to 1980. And why is that relevant? Because the same thing happened where Nixon took us off the gold standard. Gold was, you probably pegged at 35, it jumped to 58. But the next several years, it runs to $650 to $700 an ounce. Silver goes from $1.69 up to 20, right? And what happens is the Carter administration, you know, he's the only guy. It's amazing that somebody was able to take his title, but Joe Biden jumped up, knocked him right out, and took his title away from him as the worst president ever. So the only way to protect yourself in this time is take a look at what the smart money's doing. They're buying treasury bills. They're buying gold. Paul Tudor Jones, maybe one of the best traders of all time. Dr. Burry from The Big Short, he's buying gold. So we have guys buying gold. We have them buying treasuries. And you have Warren Buffett. He doesn't sit in cash. He doesn't believe in cash. But why is it? Because he thinks everything's collapsing now and coming down. As it comes down, Warren Buffett will deploy the cash and buy things at lower values, I believe. In the short term, I think you got to be very careful. Usually the Fed will do anything to keep these interest rates up. But if you took $100,000 in 72 and just bought at $1, let's say $1 an ounce of silver, what would it be worth today?
Oh, boy.
So if you took $50,000 at $1 and today silver's at, let's just use a ballpark number, $28. That's $1.4 million, Sid. That's the only way to protect yourself. You need hard assets. You need gold, silver. And if you know Stansberry, it's an independent, unbiased. It doesn't do investment banking deals. But Stansberry's predicting oil could go as high as $380, $300 a barrel over the next several years. And J.P. Morgan put out the same article saying oil could go to $380. Now, can you imagine what the grocery bills will be? Me and you spoke about one thing, three key factors with most middle-class people. You got to worry about rent. Rents in the last 2 years are up 25%. When they drop 2%, it's headline news. But rents are up 25 to 30%. Food is ranging from 25 to 40%, right? And then you look at gasoline. Since this guy got elected, gasoline has went. It's up 100%. Jeez. That affects everything. Got to get on a plane, bus, or train. Every bare aspirin, every sneaker, every shoe, everything's got to get moved around this country.
You know, one thing we talked about, too, as you wrap up this great conversation, Shane, on Friday, talking about oil and food. And those are both businesses that my dear friend and my boss, the great John Catsimatidis, involved in both. And I thought it was great. You came up to me on Friday and you said, you know, I got to tell you, I love your boss. He's a really great story. You actually read John Catsimatidis' book. You're familiar with his whole life, dating all the way back to when his mom actually used their place as a bed and breakfast just to make a couple of bucks. So I was happy to hear how much respect you've got for John Catsimatidis.
Oh, I think, John, when you read that guy's story, he's the American dream. He's red, white, and blue. It would be hard to believe that guy's not backing Trump because Trump's not part of this political. Let's look at all these politicians. They're getting kickbacks. They're all involved in some form of kickback, and money moves so much. So unless you're part of the elite, the top 1%, you don't benefit. Who's looking out for the little guy? Donald Trump is the only guy I know right now when I look at policy. Forget about if it wasn't Donald Trump and it was Sid Rosenberg. If you just take his policies are made to help the middle class. They are not. They will not destroy the middle class. Currently, what's going on the establishment Republicans and the Democrats, no matter what these guys do, they chop up the meat, they go in and make the sausage. When it comes out, they screw the middle class. Now, Trump just came out. What did he say? Just like Catsimatidis believes. Trump came out and said, hey, I want to make sure all these waitresses and waiters don't get taxed. So what is Carmela? She realizes she wasn't elected. So she's looking at Trump and says, yo, he's got the most people showing up. He's like a rock star. He's like Bono from U2. More people go to his events than anybody. And you know what? Anything he says now she's starting to say. She's like, well, you know what? Let me steal his idea. But Catsimatidis is amazing because why? He's a guy you should be picking his brain apart once a week because this is how you become Rush Limbaugh because I think you're close to Rush Limbaugh's status. You get him on. He knows about construction costs. He said a year ago today when rates went up, he said, John will not build any more real estate. John will not open up any more stores until these interest rates go down where it's affordable. Why would I use my capital when things are going to get crushed and I could buy them real cheaper? So when you got really intelligent billionaires like him that understand property and casualties up 30%, insurance, construction costs is up 30%, rents are skyrocketing, food's skyrocketing, he'd rather wait for something to get crushed. And I think, Sid, if you look back at JFK, Joe Kennedy, the best trade ever, you could Google this, was in 1929. He thought everybody was crazy. They were chasing the highs of the stock market. The market went from 0 interest rates, and they jacked them up to 90. And back in 1929, before the market collapsed, Joe Kennedy had sold all of his real estate holdings because he believed in real estate. And he was sitting in cash strictly because he walked into a shoe shine kid, and the shoe shine kid's giving him stock tips. And he just looked around. He says, I'm the head of a bank. I'm going to listen to this young kid that's 15 years old tell me about stocks. So what he does is I want you to Google this. What he does is he sells everything. He's got $4 million in cash, which back then he's a very wealthy man. But he's not the wealthiest. He's he's wealthy. He's got $4 million. He takes that $4 million, the stock market crashes. He buys all the blue chips. I don't know which ones. I didn't research it in depth. But that $4 million, was it worth $50 million 6-7 years later? Was it worth $100 million? No, it was worth $180 million. He became one of the wealthiest men in the world. So you got to look at guys. Look at Warren Buffett in 2008. Goldman Sachs was on their knees. They kept calling him at a Dairy Queen. Warren Buffett said, hey, I'm busy. Talk to my secretary. He wouldn't pick up their call. But then they bailed them out. He bailed them out, and he lent them $5 billion at interest rates of 7 3/4. This is Goldman Sachs, the best of the best. But in the mortgage crisis where they all got crushed, that's what happened.
Shane, excellent appearance. I'm glad you stopped by today. We'll do this a lot more often. You're brilliant. You really are. It's a great job. I look forward to seeing you in the gym later on this afternoon. Shane Siederman, great job. Thank you so much, and thank you for the kind words.
Sid, thank you. I appreciate you.
My man Shane, that's a smart guy right there. That is a really smart guy. And I enjoyed that conversation a lot. He does love John Catsimatidis. He was yelling and screaming in a crowded gym on Friday. Go buy John's book. Go buy John's book. I loved it. That wraps up a great hour number one. Big hour number two about to come your way. As always, Curtis Sliwa. He's amazing every morning. He's going to stop by right after Flipping with the News. Then we'll talk to WFAN legend Joe Benigno, a busy sports weekend, and all the politics, all leading up to the president's son, Eric Trump. He'll be here at 8:45 Monday morning. Sid Friends in the morning. I'll be right back.
I'm a buddy, Jim Vance. He's a working pump of gas, and he makes $2.50 for an hour. He's got rhythm in his hands as he's tapping on the cans. Sings rock and roll in the shower. Driving on the can, singing to his soul. There's people out there turning music into gold. Oh, you're my best friend.
Boy, This is Sid and Friends in the morning.
For my friends.
77 WABC.
RFK Jr. Bobby, good morning. How are you?
Sid, I'm so happy to be on your show. Thanks for having me.
You know, it's interesting to me, Bobby, that the Democrats would even want you off the ticket. I mean, every smart person that I talk to, and I talk to a lot of smart people, smarter than me, they say to me that Kennedy hurts Trump, that, you know, smart-minded people will vote for Trump and Kennedy, making the job for the Democrats easier. So can you explain to me why these morons, these Democrats, want you off the ballot when most smart people think you're helping them?
Yeah, all of our polls show that I'll tell you, this is one of our polls. We polled the people who support me. 57% of my supporters say that if I leave the race, that they'll vote for Donald Trump. So clearly, I'm hurting President Trump. We did a massive poll that shows that if I leave the race, President Trump wins 2 extra states, Maine and Virginia.
Well, then do me a favor, Bobby. I love you. Don't get me wrong. I love you a lot. Get the hell out, please. I want Trump to win. Bobby, baby, I love you. Get the hell out. Some lady on Instagram was furious with me. She's like, how disrespectful are you telling the guy to drop out of the race? Listen, he's got no chance of winning. He's got less than a 0 chance. Smart guy, got nothing against him. A little crazy, but, you know, the whole Bear story is a bit much. But I like him, you know. But if he's hurting Trump, get the hell out. Get out. Got no chance of winning. It's ridiculous. So the lady got all pissed at me. But yesterday, I was enjoying my Sunday on the beach with my friend Jen DeLandro. You know her from Dolce Aesthetics, and my beautiful wife Danielle and the kids. It was a great time. And I got a text message from Curtis Sliwa. And it was a picture of Curtis seemingly at some big event. I don't know what it was. I know what it is now, but I'm not going to ruin it for you. At a big event, and he was surrounded by 6 women. And some of these ladies had T-shirts on supporting RFK Jr., who, again, was just on this show Friday. You heard that cut. That was literally 3 days ago on Friday. Curtis, well, I'm not going to tell you what Curtis said. Curtis is going to tell you. Big ratings, rip and read every weekday, noon to 1, overnight weekends, and does a spectacular job with me every morning. So you were somewhere yesterday. You see these women for RFK Jr., and what happens next?
No, they call themselves chicks for RFK Jr.
No, they're not chicks. They're women.
Let me tell you, at one point they were chicks, and they remembered your cousin Norm Coleman. They were listening to you as you talked about how he had been a hippy-dippy with long hair, smoking weed up in Woodstock. Some of these chicks had been in Woodstock.
Really? That's a true story. He was good friends with Abby Hoffman. He went to Hofstra.
And they were trying to lure me into the Venus flytrap by offering me sins of the flesh if I would endorse RFK Jr. for president.
Hold on a second. Slow down. So you're telling me you've got women at this event in New York City yesterday.
Mad women.
Willing to have, not only willing, but ready to have sex with you?
Right there in Bryant Park. We were right next to Bryant Park.
In Bryant Park?
Right
all
there.
6 of them?
Just like Woodstock. Peace, love, and happiness with flowers in their hair as if they were in Haight-Ashbury.
And all you had to do was say, I'll endorse RFK Jr.?
I was right there. You saw the table.
I did see it, yes.
They were hoping that I would say something into the camera. They were ready.
No. Did you text Nancy and ask her?
No, if I did that, I would have been persona non grata, because remember, he's the bear killer. He's the bear killer. Forget it.
Yeah.
So we're having a...
But they're serious. Like, they love this guy.
Oh, no, but they were listening to you because they had known that RFK Jr. was going to be on with you. And quite frankly, he had been trying to get on with you, but that stunad overnight, Frank Morano, who goes out and collects the signatures for him, never conveyed that to you.
Is that right?
They dropped time on Frank.
Because Frank was the first one to text me and say that was maybe the best RFK interview I've ever heard. And he's interviewed RFK a bunch of times.
Well, maybe if they could put something into his voice box, like somebody
terrible
who's been smoking cigarettes,
terrible.
Chesterfield. But anyway.
I actually thought at one point,
How did that happen? Do you know how that happened?
No, it's a problem that he has.
But he wasn't born with it.
No.
That happened later in life.
No.
So at one point I was going to say, but I didn't want to, but if your voice was normal, if you had a normal voice, do you think more people would be willing to take and vote for you?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. There's no doubt.
That's because he's a good-looking guy. He's in great shape.
After 5 minutes, look, Sid. After 5 minutes, it's hard. It's hard. But anyway, put that aside. So I turned down the sins of the flesh.
You turned it down
right there in Bryant Park.
You love Nancy.
They would have been rolling in the grass with me. And by the way, more than a menage a trois.
I got to tell you this. You're behind me. 200,000 for most popular video, 1.2 million to 1 million in the history of ABC. You would have gone way past me.
Oh.
You would have had you would have been like the next Kim Kardashian.
It would have been
the Curtis Sliwa sex tape.
Bethel, New York all over again. I mean, they were all veterans of Woodstock, which, as you know, at that time, free love.
No, they look a little older. They're not young ladies. Well, they're only younger ladies.
Look, they vote. That's the most important
all that
thing.
Matters, right?
The young chicks, they don't vote.
Right, true.
So now, it's interesting because I'm there, as I am every year, for the annual Dominican Day Parade.
Oh, that's where you were? They were there at that parade?
Well, they were trying to get people to vote. Problem was, most of them didn't speak Spanish, and it's important, and I told them, you want the Dominican crowd, you got to put on a Boston Red Sox hat because, they're going to talk about Papi, oh, we missed. And remember, that would have been the greatest acquirement that the Yankees ever made. And who told George Steinbrenner Sr., do not bring Papi over from the Minnesota Twins at that time? Cashman.
It was Cashman?
Yeah,
but
because
it doesn't make sense.
That short right field porch, he would have owned it.
But, Curtis, it doesn't make sense. They brought Roger Clemens to the Bronx.
Yes.
They brought Wade Boggs to the Bronx.
Hated it.
They brought Johnny Damon to the Bronx.
Sparky Lyle.
Right. So there's a ton of guys that were Red Sox, ended up Yankees. Why stop at Ortiz?
By the way, Johnny Damon, who threw like a girly, he would throw from center field. Jeter had to come out to the monuments to get the throw and relay it into the infield.
He was a good player. He was the guy, of course, that started that whole thing where he actually nicknamed his own teammates the idiots when the Red Sox were beating the Yankees in the early 2000s.
So they didn't listen to me. They were too busy trying to get me on board. And actually, I'm working the Dominican Day Parade. And I know there's going to be trouble from the early start of it because I see the Trinitarios, which is a Dominican-based gang, did not start in the DR. It started here in New York City and then spread to the Dominican Republic. They're strong in Patterson, Washington Heights, Inwood, and in Brooklyn.
No kidding.
And I see the Patterson contingent there, and, they're talking trash to me. Pendejo, maricón, chocha, puñeta. Thank God the FCC doesn't monitor Spanish broadcasting, because those words are used at La Mega every morning, day and night.
Yes, I understand.
So they're mad-dogging me, I'm fornicating me, but it's just the contingent from Patterson. But as I was there for a while, I saw they were hooking up with their other sects, S-E-C-T-S, different divisions. And I'm saying, man, they're going to be rolling. They're going to be mad rolling. Now, I got to give the cops credit with the parades now. They put 2 barriers, so they have a frozen zone in between. Part of it is to keep me from working the crowd.
Right.
And part of it is basically to keep people from jumping over the barriers and joining the parade. Good, smart. I give credit to One Police Plaza for that, to Chell and everybody else. But they let this get out of control. So I'm on at 8 o'clock last night with Nancy for the extended rip and read, and I hit the breaking news, 8 o'clock. There was a riot on 6th Avenue. They had to shut down the parade.
That's never happened. I mean, isn't this gang there every year?
Well, I'll explain.
Okay.
So I go on with it. I'm getting all these texts. You're lying. You're making it up. What they typically say. Oh, we're going to get you this time, Sliwa.
Yeah.
We got you.
Now, who was this? People?
No, these are regular cops out there.
The cops
not even
that.
The brass.
Oh, I thought maybe it was Eric Adams.
No. They don't communicate.
They don't say
with
nothing. Right.
So, there's misinformation, disinformation. What is this? Russian disinformation. 51 previous police commissioners are going to sign a letter that Sliwa is guilty of Dominican disinformation. Well, it turns out they had to shut the parade down. But they should have known this. Because every year, what precedes this, because most people don't know, because I'm there every year with the Guardian Angels, they have the Bronx Dominican Day Parade down the Grand Concourse. And every year at 5 o'clock, the cops get the orders at the 46th Precinct, Ryer Avenue, shut it down, clear off the streets. And every year, the Dominican gangbangers fight with the cops. Sid, we're talking about fist fights, wrestling matches, like you saw in the Olympics, Greco-Roman wrestling matches.
Got that bad, huh?
Where are the nightsticks? You took the freaking nightsticks away from the cop.
I agree.
So if you let them do that every year in the Bronx, and it's 2 weeks before the main parade, eventually it bleeds over to the main parade. Right. So they said, oh, there was a slashing, 19-year-old kid slashed a 65-year-old man. True. You don't shut down a parade because of that.
No, it had to be much worse.
The Trinitarios were breaking wild. Just admit it. Hey, one police plaza, just admit it. Those Dominican parades now are out of control. It used to be the Puerto Rican Day parades. Right. Remember the Seinfeld episode?
Yes.
They got that in lockdown. Now it's the Dominican parade.
So, when you think about that, the DR parade, right? And then another Jewish man. Yes, you're in New York City. I know Eric Adams loves the Jews. Another Jewish man was slashed. And a person who's a good friend of mine who happens to be black reminded me this morning that when the New York Post did this story about a Jewish man being slashed, stabbed in Crown Heights, that the New York Post did not include in the story the race of the attacker. But when you watch the video, it is clearly a person of color,
Sid,
probably a black person.
Sid, why are you starting trouble here, right? Why are you starting trouble? What are you trying to see? You're going to upset the mayor, Eric Adams, who thinks he brings blacks and Jews together with challah bread.
He's so stupid. I'm saying it now. He's either he doesn't care or he's stupid.
There was so much crime this weekend.
The whole weekend, right, Curtis? The whole weekend.
Shut down Central Park. You can't go in there anymore. The cops are actually telling people in the morning, don't go in there and walk the dogs.
They got rapes there again. They've got beatings there again.
It's making me nauseous. Can I change this subject? Because I've been warning people about the swagger man with no plan. Crime is down. I don't know where that is. Not even by Gracie Mansion. There was a rape over there.
Right there.
Right there.
Right a couple blocks away.
Yeah. Where were the cops inside, right? What were they doing? 20 of them.
I mean, I guess murder is down, but overall crime, I got news for you. If you walk down the street and somebody stabs you or rapes you or beats you up, those numbers aren't down.
The fear and the flight continue, but it's making me nauseous. Can we talk about something that I loved? Listening to the Yankee game against the Texas Rangers at Yankee Stadium on the radio.
My friend.
I was waiting for the train wreck. As you know, I'm no friend of Craig Carton.
I am.
But he has a new friend. I got to tell you, it was so great with Susie. I hate you, Waldman. She really despised him and let everybody know the venom was dripping from her lips. That's why you listen.
Of course.
Time spent listening in radio, that's the golden calf.
That's what Phil Mushnick and guys like him never understand. I got to tell you, I texted Chris Olivero because the only person that Susan Waldman hates more than Craig Carton?
You.
Correct. I told him many years ago, go home and get your shine box. It was very ugly, very ugly. So I texted Chris because Danielle had tickets to Saturday's game. And I said, hey, I'm going with Danielle and Gabe. What do you think about me stopping by the booth in the fourth inning and doing a one inning, me, Craig, and Susan?
Oh, God.
So Chris goes, well, doesn't she hate you? And I said, yes, all the more reason to do it.
That would have been the menage a trois of Border. Because, look, the two guys that they have to replace Sterling, Sleepy and Snoozy, they are the worst. They put me to sleep. So here's Craig Carton on with Susie Waldman, and I'm listening for the train crash. And he goes, Jeff Francoeur gets his body shaved with a lady's razor. That was great. Meantime, she didn't know how to react to that. I caught the subtle meaning of that, Susie. Yeah. And then I'm saying, and here's Sid, he's at the gym, lifting those dumbbells, giving out the 14-page report in the New York Times, the old gray lady, the headline, gay men have long been obsessed with their muscles. Now everyone is. Proving I'm not gay. I'm not gay. Plus, you shave your entire body with a female razor. Don't deny it.
Except my chest now.
Oh, my
Danielle
God.
loves the chest hair.
Oh, please, don't do it
sorry.
for Danielle. Do it for all the gay guys that follow you that have full posters.
I'm down on the gay guys. Rob Shooter, for example.
Wait, don't
that
say
son
that.
of a bitch is killing. He's all for Celine
Hold on,
Dion.
please. Let me protect you. You're not down on the gay guys. Oh, my God. What the hell are you saying here? Sid. So now, let's get back to the Yankees. Because you mentioned Kiner's Corner.
Yes, the great Ralph Kiner.
The greatest post-game baseball show in the history of all of sports.
You don't really feel that way, do you?
Absolutely.
I mean, I loved Ralph, God rest his soul, but it seemed like he was half drunk half the time.
He was. That's what made it so great.
I mean, he would call Jerry Kuzman, John Matlack, the whole thing.
And he had that polyester waffle weave jacket that all the Met broadcasters had, remember?
Yeah. Well, back then they had Lindsey Nelson, Ralph Kiner.
Right, all half in the bag.
And burping Bob Murphy.
That's right, all of them were half. They were drinking that Rheingold beer 3 hours before the game.
Murphy especially.
Oh, my God.
Bob loved his beer.
But anyway, Ralph Kiner would come on, and he would always forget who the guests were, right? Because
he would call them the wrong name.
Stars. Sometimes you'd have two stars on, and they would play the theme song, which was great for all Polish people. He'd play a Polish polka as the theme song.
That's true, yes.
So there he is, and he's regaling, and you could see the stars of the game were always uncomfortable with being there, because he would always mispronounce their names. He would go off on a tangent. And let me tell you this guy, people don't realize how great he was. You were so right when we talk about Aaron Judge, equaling his home run mark at such an early point in his career.
Well, Judge is some player.
Yeah, but Ralph Kiner retired at 32 with Don Mattingly back issues.
Yes, and he only played about 9 years. That's right.
it.
Yeah.
And you know where he used to hit his home runs? In Forbes Field, because he was a Pirate? Hank Greenberg Gardens, they called it. Left field.
Come on now.
The greatest Jewish baseball player, along with Sandy Koufax, to ever play. So they had moved.
By the way, Hank Greenberg married Gimbel's daughter from Gimbel's department store.
Oh, all of them. When the Macy CEO, they always wanted their daughters, who are always ugly, to marry famous Jewish guys. They would call them up. I'm sure this guy at Gimbel's called up Hank Greenberg, right, in the clubhouse when he was there with the Detroit Tigers, and he said, I want you to marry my daughter. Well, could I come over and see a picture of the ugliest women ever? But naturally, they would do it for the money.
Of course.
Because all the big markers, Mays, Gimbel's, especially Macy's, they were rolling in dough. You just had to not look at their daughter and marry them. But anyway, here it was, Ralph Kiner, greatest. And then you had the equal, if you were listening to the Yankees 65-67 when they were down with baseman Bertha after Burt bought him from CBS and they crashed and burned. And there he was, Phil Rizzuto, 40 years broadcasting. You had Joe Garagiola, and you had Bill White, who had just played with St. Louis Cardinals on first base that beat the Yankees in 7 games. And they would regale us with stories. You'd be laughing, even though the Yankees were losing 19-2 in the fourth inning. And you heard in the distance, Roy White, Cohen's Kosher Knishes. Roy White, Cohen's Kosher Knishes. Oh, my God, Craig Carton was magnificent. Yankee brass, get rid of Sleepy and Snoozy next to Susie Waldman. Put in Craig Carton, and special, you got to put Sid in with Susie, because if you thought Craig Carton was great, he was. Sid will even be better, because there'll be like 2 scorpions in a brandy glass. Oh, what a great weekend. The city sucked with all the crime, but what a great baseball radio combination. You were waiting for the train crash, and in radio, that means more TSL, more time spent listening. That was great radio. Come on, baby.
This is Sid and Friends in the Morning. Entertaining and informative.
Oh, you're my best friend.
77 WABC.
I'm Justin Ellick, and the scene is set. 7 p.m. Sid Rosenberg and his Blue Bears are back for their first playoff game of the 2024 postseason, taking on Pinto Novelty with J.R. Riley and Tommy Coates. This will be the Blue Bears' first action since capturing the overall number 1 seed after a 5-2 regular season. It'll be Rosenberg's first playoff game of his coaching career, as well as his son Gabriel's first playoff action. It all comes your way from Bell Harbor, 7 p.m., playoff time for the St. Francis Summer Classic. I'm Justin Ellick with a St. Francis Summer Classic playoff preview.
I'm coming down like a monkey, but it's alright. Like a load on your back that you can't see. But it's alright. Try to shake you, set it free. Just let it go. Just get it away from me. Oh, cause tonight, I'm gonna make it right. Tonight.
That's right, tonight, big night. Playoff action for my basketball team. And, of course, my son Gabriel, who I love dearly. I'm so proud of Gaby. But the whole team, it's a great bunch of kids. They're all great. Gavin and Joe and Brendan and Harry and Coleman and Danny and Jake and Burf, Willie Jimenez. It's a great bunch of kids. My assistant coach, Ryan Malone, does a terrific job. And we're going to play tonight. Everybody's going to play. I know some of these coaches, they get, very serious about the playoffs, and, they be very strict and maybe 6 guys and a short bench, and I'll do some of that.
Wow.
I'll do some of that, but my kids are going to play. Yeah, they're going to play. This is not the Knicks. This is not the 76ers. This is not the Lakers. There's guys on my team that are really good ball players. None of them are going to the NBA. None of them. So I want these kids to have fun, have a lasting memory. I will shorten the bench. I will certainly cut the minutes, especially my son and Willie, because they're freshmen. I get that. But everyone's going to play. That's how I was brought up. I played Little League. My father was my coach, and I played every game. I was never the best player on the team. I became a very good football player at Kings Bay Football, but everybody played. That's the idea. This is a community team. It's a community league. These kids take pride in this. My son wakes up excited about this, and they're going to play. We're going to win. Oh, we're going to win, but they're going to play. So it's a big one tonight. If you're around the St. Francis basketball courts, come by at 7 o'clock and root us on. I did have a great dinner. I want to mention this. My dear friend Tom Mango, my main man Thomas Mango, celebrating a birthday coming up this Wednesday, the 14th. But we had a beautiful birthday dinner with Thomas and our dear friend, his lovely wife Cheryl, and their son Adam over at Rocco's, a place that me and you, Lewis, have had some good dinners at. The guys, Vinny, and how about Bella, pregnant, my waitress. But last time we were there, you and I, they kept playing the scenes from Gravesend with me and Dice. Right. They did the same thing Saturday night. It was beautiful.
The same from Gravesend?
The same scene. This was even better. They actually rewound it to that specific scene with me and Dice on the tennis court in Boca all night. It was hilarious.
Still scares me. Yeah. I don't want to play tennis anymore after that.
Yeah, Dice took that racket right to that senator's head. But
Hickory dickory dock.
This chick was. So the dinner was great. Thank you, Vin. Happy birthday, Thomas. We are going to take a short break. Eric Trump will be here in an hour. That's going to be monster. Mike Lawler is going to be here. And coming up next, the WFAN legend himself, Joe Benigno.
77 WABC. This is Sid and Friends in the Morning.
No, I get by with a little help from my friends.
Does Curry have another banger with a dagger to finish it? Durant back to Curry, dancing on Batum, over the double team. Oh! It's It's a golden dagger.
Night.
Curry unconscious in the fourth.
Don't pour your love out on me, baby. If you do, then I think to maybe I'll just lay me down right for 100 years. Don't pour your love out on me, honey. Take my heart, my soul, my money, but don't leave me drowning in my tears.
Steph Curry, the hero, as the United States wins their 5th straight gold medal in basketball, beating France. Both the men and the women beat France this weekend to win gold medals. Curry on fire the last 2 games against Serbia and, of course, the win over France, one of the greatest players in the history of the game. Don't forget, Eric Trump will join me coming up at about 8:45. Had a nice conversation with Eric over the weekend, and he's very much looking forward to coming on 2 weeks after his father made world news, as I did on this program. So Eric Trump coming up at 8:45. But it was a busy sports and political weekend. We do both with this next guest, the legend, still at WFAN, my former partner in the early 2000s, Joe Benigno. Joseph, good morning, buddy. How are you?
Sydney Arthur, first of all, a couple things. Tremendous song. Hamilton, Joe Frank, and Reynolds, Don't Pour Your Love Out of Me, Baby. I was actually singing it, but you didn't hear it. And then let's get right to the. This was the most unlikable men's basketball team of all time. Okay, I can't stand LeBron. I can't stand Kevin Durant. I used to like Steph Curry until he came out with the Kamala Harris lick fest early in the at the Olympics.
Which, by the way, not to stop you, but you can't be surprised because he plays on the Golden State Warriors. His head coach, who coaches his team, Steve Kerr. Right, encourage the worst.
Don't even get me started on Steve Kerr. I can't stand Steve Kerr. Okay, please, Steve, do me a favor. Maybe I don't know. I won't. I'm going to be nice. Okay, I can't stand him. But let me just say this: I did watch the last 10 minutes of the gold medal game. I said, let me just put it on. It was Saturday. Watch the last 10 minutes of gold medal game, and there's no disputing, my political feelings aside. Steph Curry, what he did in the fourth quarter, they cut it to 3. I mean, they're in trouble in this game. They're turning the ball over, and he hits 4 threes in a row, and the last one with the double, 2 guys in his face that he basically just heaves up into the stratosphere and goes in was just unbelievable. So let me say that. He seems unlike LeBron and Durant, who are 2 of the most unlikable guys you could ever imagine.
Agreed.
He seems very likable.
No, he does seem likable. I mean, he follows Kerr with the politics, Kamala, Golden State. By the way, his wife got in a fight, and Draymond Green's wife.
My wife was telling me they wouldn't let her go in a car or something.
Yeah, it was rough. But it brings up the conversation. Now, you can argue that Steph Curry is a 2, but the truth is he's a 1. His position in your guide is a point guard. When you talk about the all-time great point guards, Magic Johnson, Oscar Robertson.
The greatest shooter of all time. The greatest perimeter shooter of all time, three-point shooter, whatever you want to call him.
Really?
Is Steph Curry.
Better than Reggie Miller?
He's better than Reggie Miller. He's better than Ray Allen. Steph Curry's number 1. There's no doubt.
Can't argue that. All right, so they win the gold. The Olympics is over. We did very well.
Right. Thank God.
Now, before we get to Trump and football
and
all that.
How woked out was this Olympic? Between the male boxer beating up on women, which is a disgrace, between the desecration of the Last Supper at the opening ceremony, what a disgrace that was. I knew it was coming. Knowing what I think about Paris, and I think I'm dead on about what it's all about in France. I was not surprised at the out-and-out wokeness of the Olympics.
And truth be told, I didn't watch it, and I said before, even the last summer, I wouldn't watch it, the Last Supper. But I got stuck in a Fort Lauderdale airport for 12 hours with Danielle last week, barely made it home, and the gate was connected to Kim Bokamper, the former Dolphins sports bar.
One of my all-time favorite, Kim Bokamper on the Killer Bees in the early 80s. How much did I hate them?
Right. So his sports bar's got 6 flat-screen TVs that are right there at the gate we're sitting at. So I had no choice. They were all on the Olympics. So I saw like Noah Lyles win a medal. I saw all these people win medals. And I got to tell you, I hated it. I didn't watch it, blah, blah, blah. Every time an American won, I'm not going to lie to you, whether it was Simone Biles or Kate Ledecky, I enjoyed it. I did.
Yeah, no, I understand. I get it. No, look, I mean, we love our country. You just wonder if a lot of these people that win medals love their country too. I don't know.
That is a fair question.
That I don't know.
No, so the last time you were on, you and I were giddy beyond excited. We were giddy about the second half and the possibility for the Mets. I've watched the Mets for the better part of 57 years. This was one of the worst weekends of baseball I've ever seen.
If
ever.
I got to see Pete Alonso or Francisco Alvarez or J.D. Martinez swing at another freaking breaking ball 18 feet off the plate, I'm gonna go delirious. And what's happened to Nimmo? This guy, he was like an all-star the first half of the year. He's done nothing. He has stunk in the second half of the year. He doesn't have a home run. I think he has 3 RBIs. He's batting about 140. I mean, this is why, okay, that I don't think that. I know they're still right there. They're only a half game behind the Braves for a wild card spot. They just go into these funks when they don't hit. And you know, and I know Severino got hit pretty hard yesterday, but they scored 1 run in 3 games, Sid. I mean, come on.
It's terrible.
And now you can make a case that maybe, look, this was a brutal road trip. They had to go from Anaheim to St. Louis to Colorado to Seattle. You know, maybe they were a little burned out at the end of it, whatever you want to say. But this was horrific over the weekend.
Terrible.
There's no other way to say it.
Now, on the other hand, the Yankees had a bad second game Saturday, but they played great Saturday afternoon, great yesterday, 4 more home runs. Stanton, when Stanton, Soto, and Judge homer the same day, you can't beat them. But I got to ask you, Joe, you and I worked together. We were actually on the air together when Barry Bonds was at the height of his game in San Francisco. Outside of Bonds, who was juiced out of his mind, but I don't care, he's a Hall of Famer. Outside of him, have you seen a more dominant player than Aaron Judge?
No, Aaron Judge is clearly the best player since Barry Bonds. I mean, he's getting the Barry Bonds treatment. He gets walked intentionally, gets pitched around all the time. Aaron Judge has put himself, in that pantheon of the all-time great Yankees. You know, Babe and Gehrig and Joe D and Mickey and Yogi and I guess I'll throw Jeter in there too.
Yeah.
You know, the one thing I will say though about Judge, as great as he is, and I've said this, because he plays on the Yankees, if he doesn't win a World Series,
no good. Right. I was going to say,
him. If he was on another team, that's a different story.
Right. If he'd be Mike Trout
on this team, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
He'd be Mike Trout, but on this, like, he's an all-time great Yankee. Reggie Jackson had great days in Oakland and Baltimore, all over the place. But Reggie hit 3 home runs against the Dodgers in 1 World Series game.
2 championships. He was as good as that. Remember that Yankee team in '76 won the pennant, and they got smoked by the Big Red Machine in the World Series. And, let's be honest, Reggie put him over the top. As good as they were, Thurman was great, and he should be in the Hall of Fame, too. But Reggie really put that Yankee team over the top.
Him. Don't leave out Bucky Dent, who had those two.
Well, you know what I mean.
And I know it was Reggie. I do want to do one more, then we'll get to politics on football. We didn't see Daniel Jones or Rodgers. Now, Rodgers is still not going to play this week against Carolina. I do think the Giants will play Jones a little bit against Houston.
Jones, I just saw Jones is playing this week.
He is playing, okay, but some of these rookie quarterbacks look great. But what were your impressions on the Jets?
I didn't really pay attention to the preseason game. I guess this kid Allen played well, the running back. I'll tell you, here's my approach to the season offensively. This has to be a ground and pound team. They look like they got something with this kid Allen. Obviously, Breece Hall is one of the top backs in football. They revamped the offensive line. I want to see this team be a run team first. I want to see Aaron Rodgers throwing 25 passes a game, because if that's what happens, this is going to be a very good football team.
But don't you agree that Garrett Wilson is your most explosive offensive player?
No. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he's more explosive than Breece, man. I mean, Breece last year, you live on a team that was no good offensively with this terrible quarterback they had in Wilson. This guy rushed for almost 1,000 yards. He scored more touchdowns than anybody on that team. He had 9 touchdowns. He caught like 65, 70 passes, Sid. I mean, he's something if he stays healthy. He really is. Now, Garrett Wilson's dynamic. Don't knock it. I'm not saying that. He's one of the best receivers in football. But I really think we got to play the passing game off the running game.
Okay, so you want to go back to the Joe Walton, Walt Michaels days.
Well, really, Rex Ryan.
Rex Ryan, right, even better, right. He got them to 2 straight championship games at Mark Sanchez. Let me get to Trump. So, I get asked all the time. People still ask me a lot about sports. They know that I'm still into it, and you're on the show, Doggy. But the question I've been getting asked the last week or so is, are you nervous? Now, listen, I will never, ever, ever admit on the air whether I'm nervous or not, because that's who I am. I'm there for Trump. We're going to win. But I got to tell you, his staunchest supporters are asking me, are you nervous? Joe Benigno, are you nervous?
I'm always nervous because you can't trust the Democrats. Let's be you just can't trust them. And the fact that they did the bait and switch like they did with this woman who didn't even get a vote, to be the nominee, and then they put this communist governor in with her too, which is just unbelievable. I don't buy these polls. All these polls are skewed. To me, this is very similar to Hillary in 2016. Hillary, there was no shot Don could win, all of this nonsense. I think at the end of the day, well, first of all, let me see her debate him, because I'm not so sold she's going to debate him, Sid. I don't know about that. I know she says she'll only do one debate on ABC. They're supposed to be. Well,
so that brings up the next question. The day before is opening weekend for football. The Giants play the Vikings, and your Jets play. Are you looking more
Monday night
against San Francisco, right? So are you looking more forward to the Jet 49er opener, or the next day the debate between Trump and Harris?
Well, look, the biggest thing my biggest concern right now, as much as I love my Mets and the Jets and all, is the country. I mean, is Donald Trump winning again? Because if we don't win this election, we're in big trouble. And I think Don has to really play up the assassination attempt more than he does. I think that needs to be brought to the fore, because let's be honest, the mainstream media has done everything they could to whitewash it that it never even happened. If you go on Google and look for Trump's assassination, they're showing you Harry Truman. What are you doing? You know what I mean? I mean, let's be serious.
Is that right? Harry Truman?
Oh yeah, I think Google. I think if I'm not mistaken, Google has whitewashed that. You can't even get any information on Trump's assassination.
Wow.
And let's be honest. And I said this to you before. If you think that this just happened with some 20-year-old kid going up the roof and shooting at him, you got to be out of your mind, especially when you hear now about Iran, because let's be honest, I mean, let's be honest with this. The only country in the world outside of the United States that wants to see Donald Trump win again is Israel. That's it.
That's it.
There's not another one.
No, you're 100% right. So in the last...
None of them. The UK.
Stop.
None of them. That's the only country besides ours that wants to see Donald Trump be president again.
Agreed. So in the final 60 seconds, I know a couple of weeks ago, Ryan, the program director at WFAN, came to you. And
Very
he
good
said,
guy, by the way. Ryan, let me tell you, Ryan Hurley, terrific guy.
He's a nice guy. I know Ryan for years. Yes.
Terrific guy.
But he said, stop the politics. So then I kept seeing these posts. They have this WFAN message board and nonsense, And so this weekend, somebody posted something on the fan message board, and they said, I actually like it. I kind of like it when Benigno talks about politics. So will you take that message board, walk into Olivero and Healy's office and say, listen, guys, you may want to shut me up, but the truth is the listeners kind of like it.
Well, the only time, look, it's a sports show. I don't really want to deviate from sports. People are turning in.
You don't care about sports. You care about Trump.
Well, I care about sports too.
Not as much as Trump.
I'm more concerned about Don. I will. If it's brought up, I will discuss it. I will not bring it up myself.
But if it's brought up, are you allowed to say nice things about Trump?
Yeah. Well, they know. Look, Sid. Everybody knows how I feel about Donald Trump. I did 3 days at a morning show with Jerry this week with my good buddy Jerry Recco, and I said it. I said, somebody asked me a question. I said it on the air. I said, my country is more important than my sports teams. I said it straight out. So everybody knows how I feel about Don. To me, he's one of the great presidents of all time. He's the only guy that can save this country. And just to answer the question, too, about nervous, I really believe this, Sid. And I know that God and religion, the left is doing their best to wipe religion off the face of the earth. You know what I'm saying? Yep. Pretty much, okay? Especially, Judeo-Christian religion, okay? Well, let me say this, and I believe in this, and I believe in God. God saved Donald Trump on July 13th so he could save our country and save the world. And I really buy it. And I think at the end of the day, people are going to realize what a fraud Kamala Harris is, okay? Let's be honest. Now she's ripping off Don about no tips, no taxes for tips.
Yeah, stole that.
Right. All of a sudden now she's not against fracking.
No.
All of a sudden she's the greatest thing that ever happened to the southern border.
She doesn't want to defund the police. She wants to close the border. She's stealing all of Trump's stuff. Yes.
Right. Of course. Yeah. So she's so full of it. It's unbelievable. She won't even do a press conference. And I'm telling you, she's going to back away from doing. I'll be shocked if she does a debate because she's going to get eaten alive. Right. But I do believe this. I do believe that at the end of the day, the people in this country realize what a disaster the Democratic Party is. And I don't care how they try to spin it. I don't care how they try to skew the polls. That she's ahead in the polls and all this crap. I think at the end of the day, we're winning this election. By the way, let me say the convention starts today. Democratic convention, right? Does it not?
No, not today. No.
When does it start? I thought it was this week. Was it next week?
Next week.
Oh, it's next week.
But if you want, you can go to Chicago today and
no, I want no part
hang
of
out
it.
for a week.
But I will say this: just remember, I thought it was this week. I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I just want to alert all my fellow Trump lovers.
Yeah, you're like my mother.
Remember, it's gonna be a lick fest next week. Just remember that.
That's fine.
It is.
That's fine. That's what we did. That's what we did in Milwaukee for my guy Trump. That's okay.
No, but it's going to be even worse with all the
I know,
with all the movie stars and the Trump bashing and all of this.
Oh, Steve Summers is going to be there.
Just remember, it's only the convention. Let them have their fun.
Right.
Don't flip out because that's exactly what it's going to be next week. And I would caution anybody to not even watch.
Don't even watch it, right. Joe, you're brilliant.
Are you going? You're not going to Chicago, right?
No, I don't want to go. I wanted to go when it was... No, I'll tell you when I wanted to go. I wanted to go when it was up in the air. Once Kamala was given the mantle, I didn't want to go. But if this was going to be like a free fall, I would have gone. It would have been fun to watch. But now I don't care. I hate them.
By the way, the only guy in politics that should be called coach is Tommy Tuberville, who's the senator from Alabama who coached Auburn, he coached Ole Miss, he coached Texas Tech. He not this clown Waltz, who was like the assistant to the assistant to the assistant defensive coordinator for some third-rate high school team in Minnesota.
Agreed.
Okay, so let's tell it like it is. This guy is not Nick Saban. All right, can we slow down here? The coach, what a freaking disgrace!
I know.
Sid. The pain, Sid.
Oh, the pain. Joe, I love you.
I also, one more prediction.
Yes,
Something's going to come out about this assassination before all is said and done.
All right, we'll find out. We'll let you know.
I'm telling you.
We'll call you on the fan, okay?
Call me.
Yeah, I love you, bro.
Don't call me on the fan.
That's a great appearance this morning, as always. You're fantastic. I love you. Thank you so much.
Rufino, great job with Don't Pull Your Love Out From Me, Baby. Okay?
All right.
Hamilton, Joe, Frank, and Reynolds. Tell Lou we'll do a duet sometime, all right?
Tell him yourself. He's right here.
Lou, we'll do a duet. Good song, bro.
Okay, we're going to do it in Chicago next week.
No. 1971, you weren't even born, Lou. 1971, you weren't even born.
From your lips to God's ears.
Lou wasn't born. All right, Joe, we love you. Thank you. That's
all the love, guys.
The great
See
Joe Benigno. That's a great job. We love bringing Joe on this show. He does his fan stuff and does his Mets and his Yankees and his Jets and his Giants. He does here as well. But he's great here. Some more music for you, Big Joe. We'll come back to the news. John Catsimatidis and Eric Trump. It's a big 8 o'clock Monday morning with me, Sid Friends in the morning.
What about that brand new ring? Doesn't that mean love to you? Doesn't that mean anything? If I threw away my pride and I got down on my knees, would you make me beg you pretty please? Maybe I'll just lay me down, cry for 100 years. Don't pour your love out on me, honey. Take my heart, my soul, my money, but don't leave me drowning in my tears. There's so much I want to do. I've got love enough to.
Entertaining and informative. This is Sid and Friends in the Morning. 77 WABC.
Look, the polls we had showed that it was a neck-and-neck race. Would have been down to the wire. But what happened was a number of my Democratic colleagues in the House and Senate thought that I was going to hurt them in the races. And I was concerned if I stayed in the race, that would be the topic. You'd be interviewing me about why did Nancy Pelosi say, why did someone... And I thought it'd be a real distraction.
So I kept seeing that all day yesterday, and it reminded me that guy Joe Biden, that imbecile, he's still the president. My president is Donald Trump, and the Democrats, they've got Kamala. But this guy's still the president. So he woke up from a 2-week nap and spoke to somebody. I don't know. I think it was CBS. think it's kind of funny, the great John Catsimatidis, who does not one but two huge shows on this station, Katz and Cosby, 5 p.m. every weekday afternoon, and that great Katz Round Table, 8 a.m. every Sunday morning. If I don't see Biden, John, like I did yesterday, sometimes I forget he's still the president. How about you?
He is still the president, and I interviewed the former Speaker Kevin McCarthy, and the question is, who is really running the White House? Bill O'Reilly has his opinions. Kevin McCarthy has his opinions. But from the back, I think that President Obama has a lot to say about this.
100%. I don't care what anybody else says. I don't care what O'Reilly. I love O'Reilly. I love him to pieces. He's a lot smarter than me. And McCarthy, I don't care what anybody says. Shapiro was not the vice president choice because he's Jewish. I don't care what David Axelrod says. And Obama runs the White House.
That's true.
Yeah.
I agree with that, too. I think the fact that they were going to get a big backlash in Chicago because Josh Shapiro is Jewish, they knocked him out. I know Josh. Josh is a very decent guy. You know, he's common sense, and someday he may go somewhere. But he's governor right now of Pennsylvania. But there's so many problems in the world, and like we said the other day on Friday's show and Sunday's show, the fact July was for the Republicans. We were 10 points up. August is for the Democrats. They're going to be 10 points up.
Yep.
And you know what the September is? Remember the song, See You in September?
I love that song.
That's when the American people sort themselves out.
Yep.
One of your guests, I forgot which one, said that they don't think he doesn't think they're going to debate. I think there's a good chance they don't debate.
You do think that?
I think there's a good chance they don't debate. Look, Kamala Harris, I've met her, I've had lunch with her, but I don't think she is capable of running the world. And the president of the United States runs the world. And what I've said to a lot of people over the weekend, I understand is that when I said to a lot of people over the weekend, let's say this, the free world depends on the United States of America to keep the free world free. Europe can't do it by themselves, Australia, Japan. And if we don't have a strong enough leader in Washington, guess what? We're going to have a problem.
Agreed.
And the only one capable of keeping the free world free is President Trump.
Agreed. And that guest you're talking about was on right before you, Joe Benigno, who said they may not debate. And I asked Joe the same question I'm going to ask you because he's an ardent Trump supporter. And that is the question, John, that I get asked the most these days. It's not about the Mets or the Giants. It's about Trump. And they say, listen, Sid, we know you're friends with Trump. By the way, John Catsimatidis is friends with Trump. We know you're friends with Trump. We know you love Trump. Are you nervous? And you just talked about it.
I think the one thing, if I whispered in his ear this afternoon, I would say to him, stop playing down Kamala Harris. Stop criticizing her. Just tell people the comparison of the job you're going to do versus the job that she's only going to follow, if not worse, than President Biden. And foreign policy is terrible. The border policy is terrible. The fentanyl policy is terrible. Our university policy is terrible. And it's nothing about hate. It's nothing about IQ. It's nothing about stupidity. It's that the policy is wrong for the American people. And that's what it comes down to.
I want to ask you about the fire department. I actually became friendly. I don't know if you know this, John, with Dan Nigro because of you. Because Dan
Nigro is a very decent person.
Great guy. Yeah, so I met him. You may remember a couple of years ago, John, when you did your show live from the feast. You remember that? And we had Joe Piscopo there, and me and you, and Nigro was there. And him and I have become good friends now over the years. And I always liked Dan. I did not know Kavanaugh very well. I met her at the marathon last year with Caban. She was okay, but the rank and file hated her. Now, I have met Tucker. I had dinner a couple of months ago with Tucker and a few other friends, and he's a very, very smart, strong guy. You have any feeling on the new fire chief?
You're going to have him on today.
Who is?
Tucker.
No, tomorrow. Tomorrow, I think.
Okay, all right.
Do you know him? Do you know who he is, John?
I've met him, but I don't know him well. The person who knows everybody at the fire department is our rabbi, Rabbi Potashnik.
Yes.
He's the chief chaplain for the fire department, I believe.
He still is, yes. So I don't know if you heard my guest at 6:45 this morning. He's an incredibly brilliant economics guy. Brilliant, John. So he goes to my gym. So we're talking on Friday. He goes, he said, maybe you didn't hear it, but he goes, your boss is an amazing guy. I go, I know that. You think I know that? He goes, no, you don't understand. Now, this guy's working with billions and billions of dollars. He's been with Chase Bank, and now he's with a big financial agency in Brooklyn. But he said, I read his book, and he said, when you look back at John's life, now you can correct this or not, he said, he came from nothing. He came from Greece. He had nothing. He said his mom actually used to use his house as sort of like a bed and breakfast just to make extra money, just to make ends meet. That's a true story. He was raving about that.
As a matter of fact, I had lunch with Dino, who lived in our home 50 years ago or 60 years ago. Dino is now 88 years old.
Wow.
My father paid $48 a month rent. Dino paid $8 a week.
Oh, my God.
So figure that out.
Yeah. It's about 1/6, about 17%. That's unbelievable.
Well, my father made ends meet. I mean, I guess, look, we were very poor. My father never made more than $100 a week. He worked for Longchamp's Restaurants, Jan Mitchell, and on 42nd and Lex, and every time I drive by 42nd and Lex, I still have tears in my eyes.
Oh.
And I used to go to the Automat up the block from Longchamps on 42nd Street and wait for my dad sometimes to come out at lunchtime. But on weekends, my father spoke fluent Italian. And he would go to Astoria or Long Island City, work as a waiter, and make a few extra bucks to pay the bills.
Interesting. Yeah. How old were you, John, again, when your dad passed away?
I came to America 6 months old, and my dad passed away. How the heck I was? Let me see, about 40 years old, 42, 43.
Okay, yeah, and you guys are very close. I say that because I got Eric Trump coming up next, right after you, and of course he's very close with the president, Donald Trump. You know my relationship with my father, and I come to notice this, that the best people, my favorite people, are all people who are close with their fathers, John. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I remember what I told you. Put up a picture of him and talk to him every morning.
Which I do that. I took your advice, and I do that every single day, John. Well, thank you. Are you here? Are you in New York, or are you away today?
I am in New York today. Tonight, I'm going to Europe. I'll be back in a week.
Oh, my God. Is it a business or pleasure, or both?
I always find some kind of business to do.
Right.
I made a deal in the elevator the other day.
Hey, wait a second. Talking about deals, I was talking about this with Danielle yesterday. Did you buy anything in New York and Chelsea? I know you've got Coney Island, but did you get a building?
We're building a building in the corner of 24th Street and 8th Avenue, and it's 12 stories. 100 years ago, almost 100, it was a Red Apple Supermarkets, then it was a Chase Manhattan Bank for 20 years, then it was a Rite Aid for 10 years.
Yes.
And we're having a opening party, a topping off party where you hit the top. And we built that building in 12 weeks.
12 weeks. Now, I don't know if you know this, but when Danielle and I first we got married, moved into the city, our first apartment was on 21st and 8th. And there's a New York Sports Club over there.
I used to own that whole block.
Really?
Tony Orlando's dad and Tony Orlando grew up on 21st and 8th.
Oh, my God. He did tell me that. So is this building that you're building on 24th and 8th, that's going to be residential?
Residential. It's going to be for rental. And it's a great neighborhood. It's a great neighborhood.
It is. That's Chelsea, that part. We love living there, Danielle and I. Well, listen, I'll see you later on today, and we'll talk, and then we'll do this again next week from Europe, buddy. You were great as always. Thank you so much.
I will call in. I'm going to try to do the show, or my 5 o'clock show from Europe, because don't forget it, 5 o'clock, it's
11 o'clock.
Midnight there.
Yeah, so 11, right.
I have nothing to do at midnight.
Well, have a safe trip and have fun, and we'll do this. And by the way, congratulations too on the ratings. You demolished Sean Hannity again last week, so congratulations.
Only 4 times the amount. That's not counting that we're on the 970 besides.
I love it. John, keep it up, man. I love you. Thank you so much. It was great to have you on. All right, boss. That's my main man, John Catsimatidis. He's not lying. 4 times what Sean Hannity does. And Sean's a great guy. I love Sean. Love Sean. Believe me when I tell you, if you're a Republican and you love Trump, you should love Sean Hannity. But when it comes to the radio show, John Catsimatidis kicks his ass. And he should. John's got a better show. We'll take a short break. Lots more to do this morning, including, as I mentioned, Eric Trump coming up in about 15 minutes. Keep it right here.
She got me walking where the wildlife goes. I'd do anything to reach her. And she was made in heaven. Heaven's in the world. Oh, she was made in heaven. Heaven's in the world. Is this just espresso love? You know I'm crazy for the girl. Just crazy for the girl. Yeah, she called me just to talk, but she's my lover. She's a friend.
This is Sid and Friends in the morning. 77 WABC.
This honeymoon period is unbelievable. I mean, she's gone almost 3 weeks without having to take a question from a reporter as a candidate. Anybody who's ever run for president knows, even if you're an unknown candidate, you can't go like 3 hours, much less 3 weeks, without somebody asking you a question. And if you were dodging them for 3 weeks, you'd be out of the race. And then you just mentioned she hasn't done a press conference since December. I mean, that's got to be a new record for a vice president. And then she never mentions Joe Biden's name. And she was part of this conspiracy and cover-up about Joe Biden's health. She was part of the big lie that went on for over a year. The media was complicit with that, and the same media that was covering up Joe Biden is now lifting her up without putting her on even the most minimal kind of questions about policy that you would ask any candidate, even at the very beginning of a presidential campaign. And here she is, the nominee, and they're giving her a free pass. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Girl, you'll be a woman soon. I love you so much, can't count all the ways I died for you, girl, and all they can say is he's not your kind. They never get tired of putting me down, and I never know when I come around what I'm gonna find. Don't let them make up your mind. Don't you know, girl,
Is this a song that was playing when, was it Travolta who stuck that big needle in Uma Thurman's chest?
Oh, girl, we gotta go. We gotta get going. Oh, come on, girl.
Such a good movie.
Don't you be bringing her to my house. No. He was, Eric Stoltz was great.
Eric Stoltz. And, of course, the guy that stole it was Samuel Jackson.
Yeah,
now, this is a tasty burger. What's the name of that movie? Oh, Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction. Oh, excuse me, that was me.
Bruce Willis was pretty good. And, the Gimp, what's his name again?
The Gimp.
Yeah, that was it.
Who?
Ving Rhames.
Yeah, but he didn't play the
Willis
Gimp.
was the Gimp.
No.
It wasn't Willis?
No, the Gimp was a guy they just brought up out of the basement.
Wasn't that Ving? Oh, no, Ving was with the guy in the basement.
Yeah,
right,
the guy in the base was just
You don't know who that
watching.
guy is, right?
No. He never took his mask
Right,
off.
that's right. It's kind of like Kevin Costner. He was in the movie The Big Chill.
And they cut him.
Well, you never saw him. He was in the coffin.
Yeah, he was supposedly playing the guy who was dead. Yes.
Right, he played the dead guy.
Right. Oh, that's crazy.
Oh,
that's
that
right.
is crazy.
No, man, I'm pretty effing far from okay. So would all of us.
God. Doug Burgum, that was the is it North Dakota? North Dakota, that's right, because Kristi Noem was in this somewhere, I don't know. But he almost became Trump's vice president. He's making all these fair points about Kamala. She doesn't talk. She doesn't say anything. And now, lately, whatever she says, she just steals from Trump. I'm going to sign a border bill. Oh, really? I'm going to eliminate taxes on tips. Oh, really? I want to fund the cops. Oh, really? This lying, thieving witch is just stealing everything from Trump. And these Democrats out there are dumb enough to believe it. So what am I going to tell you? What can I tell you? You know, hope to God they do debate. He wants 3 debates in September. Right now, September 10th supposedly is done. We'll see.
How does Joe think there's not going to be a debate? How did Benigno
John Catsimatidis said the same thing.
But what is she going to say? I'm too
make
tired
it.
that day. It's going to look bad, don't you think?
I don't know. She's tired. Who knows? I don't want to be on the same stage. He's repulsive. I put people like him away all those years in California. I don't want to be 5 feet from that guy. He's repulsive. And then you'll get these asshole Democrats, people like Rob Shooter going, you tell him, girl. You tell him.
Well, that's just a beautiful excuse. I can't believe you should do it on a September morning. That's crazy. Well, I'm with Kamala.
Well, let's find out what Trump's son thinks, whether or not Kamala will be there on September the 10th.
This is Sid and Friends in the morning.
But you say he's just a friend. Oh, you're my best friend.
77 WABC.
Keep being President Trump, because that's good enough to win every time. And thank you so much for hopping on with me again today. I love you, pal.
And Sid, make sure we win New York, please. Okay, you have a lot of people listening to this crazy show. You have a lot of people. I don't even think you know it, but you have a lot of people. Will you please make sure that we win New York? Okay, I'll put you in charge indirectly. All right.
That was the marching orders from the boss himself on this show less than 2 weeks ago. President Trump, Sid, get me New York. He originally put Lee Zeldin in charge of that, but I guess he realizes that I speak to millions of New Yorkers 4 hours a day, and that's a lot of power. So, but I think I'm doing good because I keep seeing these polls that have President Trump tightening the race here in New York. I saw a poll last week where Jewish voters are now voting for Trump over Harris. That's a miracle. 50-49 here in New York. So President Trump, I hope, is happy. I know his son. I love this guy. This is one of the great couples. I mean this in American political history. Eric and Laura Trump. 2 spectacular people. And here he is making his return to Sid and Friends in the morning. President Trump's son, my friend Eric Trump. Eric, good morning, buddy. How are you?
Hey, Sid. You know, it's very refreshing. I don't hear that too often from the media, right? I go on CNN, I go on MSNBC. I don't exactly hear them say, "Oh, look, here's a guy I absolutely love. Here's a guy I adore." So it's beautiful to hear that. This is music to my ears, Sid.
Well, and I'm being very sincere. You know that. Other people will say it on the Republican channels, but I really, really mean it. You guys are just a great couple and a terrific family. And I was watching J.D. Vance yesterday. And I thought J.D. did a really good job, Eric. I really did. And he's on CNN with Dana Bash, who's bashing him. And then he's on ABC with Jonathan Karl, who's bashing him. And I thought he stood up very, very well. But you just talked about it. You go on these other networks. They don't love you. They don't love J.D. Vance. They can't stand your father. But you guys do it. I don't remember the last time I saw Kamala Harris, for example, on Fox News. Do you?
Well, it seems like that's their strategy. I mean, I thought instead originally it was only, Biden that they would, hide in the basement, right? I mean, in 2020, we spoke about that every single day. The guy just never came out. He never appeared. He was never present. You never heard from him. And they did that for obvious reasons. And I think, based on why he dropped out of the race, I think we all kind of figured out why they did that. I think what's shocking is they're doing the exact same thing with her, right? Who, shouldn't have the same reasons that he does. There's no question that there's some kind of cognitive decline there. And hey, well, you and I will both get there. We'll all get there. It's a very sad thing. But they're doing the exact same thing to her, and now they're doing the exact same thing to, Tim, who's, it's the same thing. They don't want him out in front of the camera. They don't want her out in front of the camera. They don't want them answering tough questions. It's amazing, Sid. She comes out, she goes, day one, my first priority is going to be lowering prices. I'm sitting there saying, where the hell have you been?
Right,
where
right,
have you been as every single American in this country struggles? I'm going to focus on the border. You should have been focused on the border 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago when, Biden made you the border czar, but you weren't. Like, where are you with AI policy? Where are you with anything? It's really incredible. And then, 2 days ago, I get to hear her come out. She said, we are going to do no tax on tips. I go, oh my God, they're plagiarizing my father every single day. They're plagiarizing him, guys. I'm all for a fair race, but you're literally just copying his policies. It's unbelievable. And by the way, policies that you haven't done a damn thing about in 4 years. This country's suffering. Everybody's struggling. People can't afford their lives. People can't afford to live. Food has literally doubled in cost. Gas has tripled what it was under my father. I mean, everything is going to hell. We're not respected. I mean, you mentioned Israel before. I mean, Israel is totally under siege. I mean, our country has real problems right now, real problems. And I love how they come out. Yes, day one, I'm going to fix it. It's where have you been? You people have been asleep at the wheel as the world and our country has turned to hell. And it's we've got some pretty dark days ahead of us from an economic standpoint. I'm in that world every single day, and it's scary to see what's coming.
Well, let's go there, because there was one day last week, your father kept saying, hey, with Harris, the market's going to crash. And one day last week, Eric, the market lost 1,000 points. Now, again, that's not necessarily an indicator. I admit it, the Dow Jones, of how the guy's doing on Main Street, but it's never good. It's never good when the market loses 1,000 points in one day. And the last report on the jobs market was pitiful, Eric. It was pathetic. So the R word keeps popping up.
Sid, I can geek out on this all day long, right? But, I'm glad you brought up the jobs report, right? Every jobs report has been just fake. And the reason it's been fake is if you actually dig into the jobs report numbers, about 40% of all people that have been hired in this country over the last 3.5 years have been, public sector, right? And when I say public sector, federal government or state and local government. What's the problem with that, right? Those aren't taxpayers. Those aren't people that are contributing their roles. In fact, those are the people that, the government's paying additional money to. And that's a real problem when, almost half of all job growth, as pitiful as it's been, and it's been pitiful, almost all of job growth or half of job growth is literally, federal government. We want a smaller government. We don't want a larger government, right? We want more people paying into a system. We don't want the people that are paying into the system to have a bigger share because there's more people in there. And it's a real problem. So they do that to try and goose their numbers. They hire like mad. They make those decisions. It's no different than the 87,000 IRS agents that they wanted to hire. But they're doing this across every agency, and they're doing this in state and local governments as well. It's a very, very dangerous thing for this country. They're just effectively bloating our country in order to improve their job report numbers, and it's a problem. But one more thing, just kind of broader economy. Tune out. I haven't spoken to a single person who runs a small business. I haven't spoken to a single person who works in a business literally in 6 months who hasn't come out and said this is the worst times that they've seen in 15 years in our country. And I'm talking about contractors, construction workers, small business owners. These are people that are getting crammed down in ways that they could have never imagined, can't make payroll in so many cases, are literally taking out HELOCs on their homes in order to try and support their businesses through these down times. And they all universally say, we've never seen it like this before, and that's got to be a pretty big indicator of something to come. And to me, it's awfully scary.
That's very scary. This is Eric Trump joining us here on this Monday morning. So lucky to have him. Eric, talking about this administration. So Biden begs out. He admitted yesterday somewhere, I don't know, they're the House Democrats and the Congress people, they wanted him out, so I got out. So they just put Harris in. They just put her in. There was nothing democratic about that process. And then I heard your father say yesterday, we spent like $100 million going up against Joe Biden. We're not getting that money back. So in very undemocratic fashion, they just put her in. She's raising money like money's running out tomorrow. And your dad spent all this money against this other guy who's not even running. This is ridiculous what they've done, the Democrats.
Yeah, I know. And you know what? I kind of saw a lot of this coming, and I've always said, Sid, run against their policies. Let's not run against them. Let's run against their policies, right? You've got hysteria breaking out all over the world. You've got, all the problems that we just talked about from an economic standpoint. And by the way, a ton more. People can't afford life. People I mean, take that young people in this country right now, right? They come out, they don't have any assets. They come into an environment where houses are totally unaffordable because of inflation, right? I mean, the replacement cost of those houses has gone up by 100% over the last 5 years, based on 4 years, based on the rampant inflation that this guy's had. So now you have a house that's double the cost, and you have 7% interest rates, right? I mean, young people don't have a chance. No. They don't have a chance to buy a house and start a family, especially in a tough jobs market. The Middle East is a total hornet's nest. Everything's wrong. We're focused on all the wrong. I mean, I always say, Sid, we've got a big hole in the roof of this country, and that's economic. That's from kind of perception standpoint around the world. And these guys are literally focused on fixing a little stained piece of carpet in the basement. They're not focused on serious. They're not focused on serious things. And I understand that there might be 1,000 priorities, but you better line up the biggest ones, and you better take care of those. And that's the world standing. You have countries that are coming after us. You have countries that want to be, the superpowers of the world. China wants the world to be on its currency. China wants to be the largest and the biggest and the best and everything. We're failing in terms of education. We're 30th in the world in terms of education. We're failing in terms of our vets. We're failing in terms of the southern border. We had 300,000 people get lost to fentanyl. 300,000 kids died this year to fentanyl, and no one's doing a damn thing about it. I mean, it is so tragic. I literally know 4 families who have lost a child to fentanyl poisoning, right? And no one's doing a damn thing about it. We have, 11 to 13 million people who have come across our border. We don't know who they are, largely males. It's scary stuff. I mean,
no, it's terrifying. It is, and your father's on.
I was just over in Scotland. We have some properties over there. Yep. Just over in Scotland. Scotland's 5.5 million people, right? We've had more than 2 Scotlands move into our country in the last 3.5 years. I want to put that in perspective. All while the drugs are coming over our southern border in massive numbers. I mean, it's heartbreaking. And my father doesn't need this job. Believe me, I don't need to be doing this stuff. None of us need to be doing this stuff. We get nothing out of it. In fact, the exact opposite. And we just want to save this country. I mean, we care deeply about this country, and it's a clown show what's happening right now. I mean, it's truly tragic. It's heartbreaking.
Your dad was on the show 2 weeks ago, and he made a point that I've been making even longer than your father, which is any Jewish person. I know he first made it on Sebastian Gorka's show, Eric. He's done on this show a couple of times. Any Jewish person that votes for a Democrat, he's actually nice about it. Your father says they're going to have their head examined. I say they're an effing disgrace, a disgrace. I took it a step further when he was on 2 weeks ago when I called Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, a crappy Jew. By the way, I've doubled down on that, tripled down on that, quadrupled down on that. I'm not taking that back. He's one of the worst Jews. So your father and I have been getting hammered all over the world. I know you've seen this for the last couple of weeks. And your father said it again, I believe, 2 or 3 days ago at a rally, that any Jewish person who votes for Harris has to have their head examined. What is wrong with that? He's right. I'm not going to go over the list of things your dad did for Israel. It's too long. I don't have enough time compared to this group who hangs out with the squad members, who wants Israel to stop delivering arms to Israel, who wants a ceasefire so Hamas can survive. I'm not going to do all that stuff right now. But the truth is, what your father is saying, Eric, is 100% right.
You got to remember one thing. You had the squad that literally voted. All of them voted against defensive weapons for Israel. These are defensive. These aren't offensive, right? Meaning Israel's ability to protect themselves, mainly the Iron Dome. And they were voting against Israel being able to get any of those weapons. I mean, they wanted Israel to get hit. They would love to see Israel totally annihilated and wiped off the face of this earth. But it's crazy. My father was the most pro-Israel president in history. I mean, the guy was remarkable. I mean, look at Golan Heights. Look at obviously the embassy. There's so many. The Abraham Accords and so many other things, right? But let's bring this actually closer to home, right? And say that's too far away. I mean, just look at New York. So this city you grew up on. I grew up in. I mean, you walk down the street, it's not the same city. I was eating at a restaurant in Midtown the other day, and a woman, an older woman, sitting there with a friend of hers. They have a little, one of these toy dogs, sitting next to them, gets absolutely accosted by this madman who's walking down the street and starts shouting unthinkable words at her. And I'm sitting there, I'm saying, I'm about to dive out this window and have to tackle this guy because, this old woman's about to get punched. I mean, it was one of these things. I'm like, I just cannot believe this is happening in the greatest city in the world. And And so let's just forget about farther away from home. I mean, let's talk about at home. I mean, the bail reform, the weaponization of government, these DAs and AGs that don't do a damn thing other than prosecute Trump while they let these cities rot. I mean, not to mention, obviously, the financial aspects that we talked about before. It's, put them all together, put them all in a bowl. I mean, figure out, what you're focused on, but nothing's working. I mean, you can't tell me that, the Jewish population in New York, so many of whom are dear friends, they get it. They see the same thing that we do every single day. They see what's happening overseas. They see what's happening in the city. They see what's happening in the markets. They see what's happening in the world. And I'm not surprised that the numbers have changed in massive form. I'm really not.
Well, I'm working on it every day. I can promise you that. So, look, I was in Milwaukee when you spoke. You were great, by the way. You were great. And your dad spoke, and I saw everybody speak. I saw Laura speak. I saw Kimberly and Donald, everybody. And when you walk into a restaurant, for example, in Jupiter on Saturday night, I know people go crazy. I know they do. They love you. They love you. But compare that with everything else. And I got to ask you, 10 years later, third election in a row for your dad. Are you exhausted? Are you tired? Is it still fun?
We don't have the tired gene. We don't. What I will tell you is I think we're probably, at least I was a little, brighter eyed to politics before, right? And you see the possibility, and I see the possibility of the country, which is limitless. I mean, limitless compared to anywhere else in the world, and I can go into all the reasons why. Still, even money wise, economically, still. There's no question. We have the best culture. We have the best entrepreneurs. We have the ability to create the Elon Musk types, who literally are shooting for Mars every single day and doing incredible things. We can lead the world in terms of everything if we just get government out of the way and let people do their thing. I mean, America is unstoppable for a whole host of cultural reasons, but America is unstoppable as a country. But then we sit there and we spend 9 months debating, whether or not, men my height. And I think I said this in my convention speech, but, I'm a 6'5" guy, right? I'm super tall, 210 pounds. Whether or not guys my height should swim in women's sports. Like this is crazy. Like, these aren't serious conversations when you have countries like China, and now all of a sudden they're trying to get together with Russia and they're trying to become the superpowers of the world. And you've got Iran trying to develop nuclear weapons and everything else. It's God bless if you want to discuss that, but that's not on the priority list. It's just not. Yeah. There are other things. Like, let's keep this country safe. Let's have the best educated children in the world. Let's start there. Let's have the greatest military and hopefully never, ever, ever have to use it. That's what my father always wanted, kind of, peace through strength. He was the first president that didn't go to war, right? Look at us now. Look at, we spent $200 billion in Ukraine. So, on YouTube, people can watch beautiful Russian young boys shoot beautiful Ukrainian young boys who look identical to one another in trenches in unthinkable madness. I mean, we spent $200 billion on this. I mean, my father will have that war stopped in a second. Like, what are we doing? We need to focus on our infrastructure. We need to focus on our education. We need to focus on, being the strongest, being the best. We need to focus on quality of life. I mean, what's more important in this world than happiness, of society? We need to focus on all of those things. And what are they focused on? They're focused on the exact opposite.
Yep, nonsense.
In fact, I would actually argue that they're not focused on a damn thing, right? I mean, that's the reason they won't come out and do interviews, and they're not cheerleading for this nation. We don't have somebody that's cheerleading. My father would come off of Air Force One, coming back from God knows wherever he was around the world. He'd come back at 2:00 in the morning. He'd come off Air Force One. He'd go to the press gaggle. And he would cheerlead for our country. We've got the greatest economy. We've got the greatest this. We've got the greatest that. We're the strongest. We're the best. People want to manufacture in America. I mean, he would fly Marine One. He would land on the south lawn of the White House. He'd go to another gaggle of press. We're the greatest. We're the best. We're in the United States of America. We don't have that winning attitude anymore. I'm not even sure if we have an attitude anymore. We just have people who are just complacent and don't work. I mean, it's man, I mean, we need the Super Bowl winning coach back.
We do.
We need that mentality back, and we sure as hell don't have it right now.
So finally, on the way out, another amazing appearance. Amazing, Eric. By the way, Elon Musk and your father tonight. You mentioned Elon Musk. That's going to be great later on tonight. Musk and Trump. Musk will interview Donald. So I was talking about my father earlier in this program, Eric. My father died in July of 2020. And we were very, very close. I worked for my father like you've done your whole life. He was my Little League football coach, best friends. And not a day goes by I'm sorry. Why don't mention him on the air or talk about him? And I just had my boss on. You know him very well, John Catsimatidis. He was talking about his father, how his father had to work 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet. I want you now, on the way out, to give me one personal story. It had nothing to do with the presidency, none of that stuff. A personal story of Eric and Donald Trump, where you guys bonded, something outside of him running for president.
Yeah, I mean, there's 1,000. I'll give you a childhood story. I'd walk into his room every day before I left for school, and he'd look me in the eyes, and he'd always say, "Eric, no drinking, no drugs, no smoking."
He said that every day?
No drinking, no drugs, no smoking. Now I'm 5 years old, right? This is it. I'm like, what the hell is drinking, right? Like, are we talking about like apple juice? Like what the hell are we talking about? What are drugs? And I really don't know what smoking is, albeit some of the cartoons back in, the early 80s, certainly, right? They were less clean than they are now. So I might have understood that concept. But Eric, no drinking, no drugs, no smoking, and you better get great grades, right? And I mean, the guy was just remarkable. I mean, he pounded that into our head, from an early age. And, I think, listen, he has 5 kids that turned out, some might argue this, but, great. We've never gotten into trouble, never had a problem. I think have been great spokespeople for this country on the international stage, have, ran great businesses, employ, thousands of people, have conducted ourselves, honorably as much as they've taken shots, as much as they want to parody us on Saturday Night Live. And, but so much of that came from him. I mean, he was an amazing father. But it literally started by grilling basic concepts like that. And there was 1,000 more later on in life into us at a very young age. No drinking, no drugs, no smoking. And you better damn get great grades.
Wow.
So it's
that's great.
Just a remarkable guy. I love him to death. My best friend. And as I said before, he does not need to be doing this. Sid. His life would be exponentially nicer just sitting at Mar-a-Lago, flying around on his plane, playing golf, having a great time, enjoying his grandkids. He wants to save this nation. He wouldn't be doing it if he didn't. It's believe me, the toll it's taken on him, the toll it's taken on everybody is pretty unthinkable. And we love this country, and we'll do anything we can to defend it. And we're going to win in November.
By the way, not to disparage anybody else, but Biden's son, we know about Hunter's problems, and Doug Emhoff's daughter, she raised $8 million for Hamas. Not exactly what you kids have done. You're a wonderful, wonderful guy. I love you. I really do. You and your wife and all your brothers and sisters. The country loves you.
We love you, too.
And we are going to win. We're going to win because we have to.
Listen to this show. It's the best. You do such a unbelievable job. So we love you to death.
Eric. I love you, too. Thank you, pal. Have a great day, okay? Thank you.
You too.
That's my man. I love him. Eric Trump. This guy just went to Europe for like a week to run his father's business while still helping to campaign. He calls me on Saturday. He goes, I just got back from Europe. I want to come on Monday. Is that okay? And I said, is that okay? You're Eric Trump. It's an honor for me to have you on. And then he comes on and does a great job like that. Eric Trump, way to go, pal. We do love you. We'll take a short break. Big hour still to come, including Congressman Mike Lawler. 4th and final hour coming at you.
This is Sid and Friends in the Morning. Entertaining and informative.
Oh, you're my best friend.
77 WABC.
I'm Justin Ellick, and the scene is set. 7 p.m. Sid Rosenberg and his Blue Bears are back for their first playoff game of the 2024 postseason, taking on Pinto Novelty with J.R. Riley and Tommy Coates. This will be the Blue Bears' first action since capturing the overall #1 seed after a 5-2 regular season. It'll be Rosenberg's first playoff game of his coaching career, as well as his son Gabriel's first playoff action. It all comes your way from Bell Harbor. 7 p.m., playoff time for the St. Francis Summer Classic. I'm Justin Ellick with a St. Francis Summer Classic playoff preview.
Somebody's gonna hurt someone before the night is through. Somebody's gonna come undone. There's nothing we can do.
No. Don't play that. Heartache tonight means my team is going to lose. I'm going to suffer a heartache tonight.
That doesn't mean your team.
Oh, okay. Well, who's losing then? Who's suffering a heartache tonight?
Hey, let's be honest.
Let's be honest.
Let's be honest.
Now, let's lie.
It'd be the Pinto
the
Pinto commies or whatever.
Pinto Realty. Pinto!
Interesting team name.
Pete Morgan is about to go to Germany and France, and this guy travels more than Trump.
He does.
I swear to God he does. Because I asked him he's going to the Giant game week 1, so he automatically assumed I'm asking for his tickets, which he did give me last year, week 1. You remember that one?
Of course.
Week 1, Sunday night, ESPN, pouring rain.
Oh, it took you 2 hours to get home, right? Get out of
3
there?
hours.
3.
2 o'clock in the morning. Cost me $400 in an Uber.
Hey, let's
and
be
they
honest,
lost
Lou.
40-0 to Dallas. And that was the beginning of the most miserable season in years. I had my kids with me, too. I even gave. It was a nightmare. I'm like, I'm never going back. So the Giants play the Vikings. You know, a couple of days after that, I'm going to speak at Dix Hills Jewish Center. My friend, Dr. Bob Gluck, who works over at Hofstra, who's helping out Danielle and I with this proxy organization, he put together this big event, and I'm going to speak at Dix Hills Jewish Center. I had Eric Trump on a little while ago. Look, I'm serious about this. I am out there every day trying to convince these moron Jews, my people, to stop voting Democrat. I've taken it upon myself. I'll speak at Dix Hills. I've offered to speak at Reform temples. I got a call from Adam Weiss a couple of days ago about the Chabad in the Hamptons this weekend. I'll speak. You got to pay me, of course, but I'll speak because I'm serious about this. I don't know how any Jewish people can vote for these frauds. Kamala Harris is friends with the squad members. Tim Walz has more pictures on the internet with Ilhan Omar than his wife. That's a fact. Kamala Harris wants to stop delivering arms to Israel, has for months. Eric Trump said it. He wasn't exaggerating. That party couldn't care less if Israel was destroyed today. And you know what? Partly that might happen. Because as we speak right now, Israel is bracing for an attack today by Iran. Today. I know Hezbollah fired about 30 rockets. Is that right, Jim Flippin? Hezbollah fired about 30 rockets into Israel yesterday.
Yeah, that was overnight into from southern Lebanon into northern Israel.
Right. That's just the appetizer. That's the pigs in the blanket. Here comes the real stuff. And they're saying it may happen today. And they're bracing for a pretty large-scale attack. And Iran, let me remind you, idiot Jews out there, that Barack Obama, his vice president was a guy named Joe Biden, put together the Iran nuclear deal. You remember that? So what did they do? They bent over backwards to appease Iran. And even though every day they broke the treaty because they were lying to the United States and everybody else. I had a guy who worked in Germany and the Jerusalem Post, Ben Weinthal, who wrote about 50 stories, how Iran was collecting to build a bomb. And Obama was telling everybody, no, they're doing good. Lying about it. And Biden. And then Biden becomes president and right away says to John Kerry, let's do it again. Then they loosen sanctions, loosen restrictions. Forget about the $6 billion. That wasn't even used on October the 7th. I mean, Biden doesn't hate Israel. He just doesn't care. He does not care. He'd rather win Michigan and Minnesota. He's willing to let Israelis die to win Michigan or Minnesota. He doesn't hate us. Harris hates us. She hates us. Stop using her husband as Jewish. Are you nuts? Yes, he's a crappy Jew. He's a very crappy Jew. A garbage Jew. I will say it 1,000 times. There's a lot of bad Jews out there. A lot. He's one of them. She has zero love for the Jewish people and Israel. Zero. So as Israel braces for an attack today from Iran, you morons, you Jewish people out there, my brethren, who can't wait to vote for Kamala, you dumb bastards, you're doing it again. I know you don't care about Israel. See, that's what folks don't get. These New Yorkers, these Jewish people, they don't care about Israel. They don't care. They just care about their Upper East Side apartment, their fancy Shabbos dinner at the Fifth Avenue Synagogue, their house in the Hamptons. They act as if they care. They don't care. To them, Israel is actually an annoyance. These are Jews I'm talking about. Israel is an annoyance. Well, I'm not one of those Jews. That's our land. That's our people. And we need to do everything we can to protect it. And Jewish people in this state do everything but. And it's embarrassing. So, if you have a temple and you're out there right now in Brooklyn, in Jersey, wherever you are, and you know that only one person is the right choice, that's Trump, and you want your congregation to hear that, then call me. Call me, because I would love nothing more than to show up at your temple and point at your people and say, stop doing this. We are dying. We are dying all over the world. Another Jewish man got slashed just a couple of days ago right here in New York, right in Crown Heights. Slashed again. Black guy, couldn't kill us. I'm tired of it. So again, you've got a temple? You want a speaker? Call me. 9:31. Time for our stock market report. New York Stock Exchange. Take it away, Jimmy Flippin.
This is the WABC opening bell market report. 1 week ago today, Sid, the big sell-off for the market was the talking point, although that was followed by a big intra-week rally. Quiet today in terms of economic data. You'll get the latest federal budget on the earnings calendar this week. Retailers Home Depot and Walmart, they'll post results, as well as Cisco Systems. And the White House is rolling out a new click-to-cancel program that aims to make it easier for consumers to cancel subscription plans. The FDA approving a needle-free alternative to the EpiPen called Neffy. That's from ARS Pharmaceuticals. And Cleveland-based Key Corp was up more than 20% during pre-market trading after Canada's Bank of Nova Scotia agreed to buy a minority stake. And stocks opening in positive territory here as we've got the Dow up 56 points, the S&P 500 up 0.27%, and the NASDAQ Composite up 0.37%. That's the WABC Market Report. I'm James Flippin.
This is Sid and Friends in the Morning. 77 WABC.
Any Jewish person that votes for Democrats hates their religion, they hate everything about Israel, and they should be ashamed of themselves.
Standing in line to see the show tonight, and there's a light on, heavy glow. By the way, I tried to say I did.
You tell him, Donnie, baby. You're damn right about that. Well, we're talking about Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman. Tomorrow, live in studio, this young lady, I love her. She's responsible for a new bill which passed in Nassau County, unmasking the bad guys. No masks in Nassau County. No masks. There's no COVID. Nobody's dying. Unlike these idiots on the Upper West Side and all over New York City that still wear masks. You don't need it. And you can't wear it anymore. So Mazi Phillip led the charge, and she'll join me live in studio coming up tomorrow. But right now, here he is, the pride of Rockland County, the great congressman, and my friend Mike Lawler. Mikey, good morning, pal. How are you?
Good morning, Sid. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I mean, you know, maybe not fantastic, pretty good considering what's going on. And, you know, I talk to people like my friend Judah Honickman every day, and Alex Trayman at JNS every day. And I don't have to worry about your support when it comes to Israel. You're one of the best in the country, you and Anthony D'Esposito. But they're bracing for what they think might be a pretty legitimate attack from Iran at some point today. What do you think?
Look, I'm very concerned sometime this week that we will see not only an attack, but an escalation of the conflict in the Middle East. And this is a result of the disastrous foreign policies of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. When Joe Biden took office, Iran was broke, and he lifted secondary sanctions on Iran, trying to renegotiate the Iran nuclear deal, which was a disaster under the Obama administration. And as a result, Iranian petroleum sales are up over $100 billion since Joe Biden took office. That is what is funding Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and other terrorist networks in the region. And you look at that illicit oil trade. China is the biggest purchaser of Iranian petroleum. 90% of Iranian petroleum sales go to China. Under Donald Trump, that stopped because Trump made it very clear. If China purchases Iranian petroleum, they will do no business with the United States of America, period. And any business will be tariffed at 100%. This is the result of a feckless foreign policy under Joe Biden. And it has made the world more dangerous. And we're in the most precarious place since World War II. And I don't think people truly appreciate what is going on right now. We have so many challenges from the economy to the border to crime. But foreign policy is a major, major problem under Joe Biden.
Well, I want to stick with the Israeli thing only because you allowed me, and it's a huge honor. I mean that. I'm not patronizing you. There was a great event up in Rockland County a couple of months ago, one of your events, and you actually gave me an award. You let me speak, and Danielle and I loved it. We really did. And I realized I was in a very, very Jewish populated area. I mean, I know because my nieces and my sister lived in New City all those years. I've been to those temples. There's a lot of Jews up there. You got to explain to me. I understand years and years and years and years, and people have a hard time breaking tradition. You have to explain to me how Jewish people don't see how obvious all this is, even your own constituents. Can you explain it to me?
Well, I will tell you, I represent one of the highest concentration of Jewish voters anywhere in the country in my district. And I will tell you, not just the Orthodox and the Hasidim who have been moving to the right, but I think, secular Jews, Reform Jews, they are moving to the right. They are recognizing the challenge. Yes, there are people who are staunch Democrats and they're going to vote Democrat. But I think you will see in this election a lot of Jewish voters are going to vote Republican. I've gone into areas like Chappaqua, like Bedford, which by no means are Republican bastions, and met with Jewish constituents. And they're very frustrated not only about what has happened on October 7th and the aftermath, but the anti-Semitism that we've seen on our college campuses. When you have Benjamin Netanyahu coming to the United States to speak for the fourth time to a joint session of Congress, and outside you have these pro-Hamas agitators taking down the United States flag, burning it, raising the Palestinian flag, spray painting Hamas on monuments throughout Washington, D.C., people see that and they're disgusted by it.
And by the way, you don't even have to go outside. If you didn't go outside, if you were just watching inside, which I thought was even worse, was Rashida Tlaib holding up a paddle that said war criminal.
Oh, it was remarkable. And she was told numerous times to put it down, to sit there, respectfully. It's disgraceful. It's disgraceful. You have Chuck Schumer sitting on his hands half the time. I mean, it's an embarrassment what has happened with this growing pro-Hamas wing of the Democratic Party, where they are supporting the propaganda put forth by Hamas, the anti-Israel bigotry and hatred that we have seen. It's fundamentally wrong. Our country, the United States of America, is founded on Judeo-Christian values. The reason we have such a close bond with Israel is because of our shared values, because of our shared constitution and our understanding of what it is to be a democracy in this world. And Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. It is a beacon of freedom and hope and opportunity. It is the only multicultural, multi-religious, multi-ethnic government in the Middle East. And yet we have people in the United States who buy into this view that Israel and the United States are somehow the oppressor, and they are the ones oppressing the world. It's wrong. It's fundamentally wrong.
It is, and a lot of stuff going on is fundamentally wrong. I want to put you on hold for a second. I got to get Ernie in here. When we get back, I want to discuss Kamala. She's got a really, really smart new approach. It's really smart. I'm going to get to that, and then the guy you're running against, Mondaire Jones, and what a creep he is. When people hear this story, they're not going to believe it. So we'll talk Kamala and Mondaire with Congressman Mike Lawler right after these words.
Ribcage, sawtail, standing in line to see the show tonight, and there's a light on, heavy glow. By the way, I tried to say I'd be there, waiting for.
WABC. This is Sid and Friends in the Morning.
No, I get by with a little help from my friends. You get a shiver in the dark.
Happy birthday, Mark Knopfler, right here. Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, Dire Straits, turned 75 today. Great song. Fox News right now, they've got a little box at the bottom of the screen showing the southern part of Israel, reading Israel bracing for Iranian retaliation. And again, I speak to Judah Honickman and Alex Trayman there in Jerusalem every day, and they are nervous. So we will keep you updated all day long here on WABC. If, in fact, Iran does decide to attack, but it is imminent. I said that, so did Mike Lawler. So, Mike, I was saying that Kamala's got a new approach, and it's smart. What she's doing is whatever Trump did well, she's copying. So, in other words, she always wanted to defund the police, but now she says she wants to fund the police, right? She never cared about taxes on tips. Now she directly stole that from Trump. Now she wants to eliminate taxes on tips. She couldn't care less about the border. She was the border czar, never went. Now she's concerned about the border. So she has stolen, literally stolen every Trump policy. Not a stupid move, huh?
Well, what it tells you is that the policies that she actually supports are deeply unpopular, from open borders to defunding the police to cashless bail to Medicare for all to the Green New Deal. These are policies she has now thrown out the window, understanding full well that if that's what voters know about her, she's going to lose. And so she's embracing the policies of the Trump administration and President Trump's campaign plans and starting to just talk about them as if they're her own. Certainly a fascinating strategy. But this also speaks to the state of the race. Obviously she's on a honeymoon right now. It's a sugar high. When the race resettles and she has to start finally answering questions and explaining how she possibly could have supported the defund the police movement, how she possibly could have advocated for bailing criminals out, how she possibly could have supported open borders, how she failed in her task as border czar. If she has to start explaining how she was for banning fracking and now she's against it, she's going to fail because she obviously believes wholeheartedly in these positions that she previously took when she actually was out on the campaign trail.
Let me tell you a position she believes in, missionary and doggy. Take it from Mayor Brown in San Francisco. She loves those positions. Yeah, I said it. You don't have to say it, Mike. Don't worry. I said it. That's why you listen every day, right, Mike?
Listen, I think any time the election is focused on anything other than the issues, it is obviously not good for President Trump, and it's not good for the Republicans.
I agree.
We are poised to win in November on the issues, which is why Kamala Harris is adopting these positions. And why she's starting to say now she's in favor of no taxes on tips when she's in Nevada, and why she says she's in favor of securing our border when she's in Arizona. Because the policies of the Biden-Harris administration are deeply unpopular. And that's why, if the race is about the issues, we win.
About 2 minutes ago, talking about unpopular policies, I can't imagine this one's going to be popular amongst New Yorkers. This creep that you're running against, this Mondaire Jones, He wants to, now if I'm wrong, correct me, but if I'm right, this has to be a killer for him. This idiot wants to let killers and rapists vote from prison? That can't be true.
Oh, it's true. When he served his one term in Congress before he fled the Hudson Valley and lost in a Democratic primary down in New York City, during his one inconsequential term in Congress, he supported and put forth an amendment with Cori Bush, she of the anti-Israel fame, put forth an amendment to allow cop killers, rapists, murderers, child rapists and murderers to vote in our elections from prison. And I, for the life of me, can't even understand how you could possibly think that that's a good policy. First of all, these folks are a stain on society. They're not people who should be determining who is governing our country. I put forth, when I was a member of the state legislature, a bill that would preclude any cop killer from ever walking out of jail. It would preclude them from ever being eligible for pardon or clemency, as we've seen in New York State, one cop killer after the next being released under Kathy Hochul and Andrew Cuomo. Disgraceful. But Mondaire Jones thinks they should be eligible to vote in our elections and that they should be permitted to choose who governs this country.
Crazy. In the final 60 seconds, I'll be remiss, Mike. I mean, you and I are close. Everybody knows that. We're good friends. And I think you're brilliant. And I think you're a great congressman. But I'd be remiss if I didn't thank you. This bipartisan deal you put together with Josh Gottheimer. I very rarely say anything nice about Democrats. You know that. But you and Gottheimer working with my beautiful wife, Danielle, in making sure that people around this country and around the world are aware of dyspraxia, which my son Gabriel does have, Dyspraxia DCD Awareness Week. You and Gottheimer are putting together a bill, bipartisan. That was really special. So thank you very much for that.
Oh, my pleasure. And I want to thank Danielle. She's obviously been a champion on this and, really working closely with myself and my office and Josh Gottheimer to put this forth. These are the things that we should and can be able to work together on. Obviously, raising awareness, helping, provide more of a spotlight on medical issues is always important. And these are the things that we should be doing.
Agreed.
So it's our pleasure, and I want to thank Danielle for her leadership on it.
Thank you. Courtney in your office is terrific. In the final 30 seconds, she's great. In the final 30 seconds, for folks that want to help you out and send some money your way, which they should, we need Mike Lawler to win in a big way against Mondaire Jones. What's the best way to do it?
The best way to do it is to visit our website, Lawler for Congress, FOR, LawlerForCongress.com, or text Lawler to 85007.
All right.
That's Lawler to 85007. My race is going to be one of the most competitive in the country. The district Joe Biden won by 10 points, has 80,000 more Democrats than Republicans, home to the Clintons and George Soros. So we've got to make sure we get across the finish line and need everybody's help.
You'll get there. You're great. Mike Lawler, really, you are great. Thank you so much for this long and terrific appearance today. I enjoyed it immensely. We'll do it again very soon. Thank you.
Thanks.
You got it. Mike Lawler right there. We're done for today. My buddy Tom Mango's listening right now. We had that great birthday dinner at Rocco's. Thank you, Vin and Vin, on Saturday night. Tommy's going to celebrate a birthday on Wednesday. Tonight's a big basketball game. Folks, root for me and Gabe and the Blue Bears as we start our postseason. And we got a big Tuesday show coming up tomorrow. So for my cast today, the great Lou Ruffino, Justin Ellick, and Jim Flipman doing a great job in for the vacationing Noam Layden. As my friend Gene would say, God willing, we'll all be back for a 6 a.m. Tuesday show tomorrow. Until then, from all of us to all of you, peace!
Way on down